Chapter 2637. You and Night Sorrow are both exceptional genius disciples of my Tianyan school. We should have a good exchange. Hearing Mu Baiyu's words, Yuan Tianji said politely and continued, no need to rush, we will wait for you. Then he and Tan Qingfeng talked about Night Sorrow. Mu Baiyu looked at Night Sorrow and said, to avoid delaying everyone's time, let's talk inside my spatial artifact. My spatial artifact can accelerate and decelerate 20 times. Senior sister, let's go inside my spatial artifact. Hearing that the other party's spatial artifact could accelerate and decelerate 20 times, Night Sorrow replied. His clear sky pagoda could accelerate 100 times, which was much stronger than Mu Baiyu's. All right. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Mu Baiyu analyzed that his spatial artifact might be more powerful than the time rule, and entered the clear sky pagoda without any hesitation. It is indeed much better than my spatial artifact. How many times can you accelerate here? After entering the clear sky pagoda, Mu Baiyu immediately asked with interest. Exactly 100 times. Night Sorrow answered honestly, 100 times. Mu Baiyu's expression changed. She was a cultivation maniac, and she usually cultivated inside her spatial artifact. Hearing that Night Sorrow's clear sky pagoda could accelerate 100 times, she really wanted to buy it, but after thinking about it, she felt that it was inappropriate. Thus, she said seriously, let's get to the point. But before that, you have to swear that you will not tell anyone what you heard today. All right. I, Night Sorrow, swear that I will not say anything today, or else I am willing to suffer the punishment of the heavenly Tao. Night Sorrow raised his finger and swore the heavenly Tao oath. In fact, even if he didn't swear, he naturally wouldn't reveal it casually. Qingyu and I came from the same ancient world. Our ancient world was later occupied by an evil alien race, and almost all of our clansmen were slaughtered. Mu Baiyu said and continued, I was put on a mask by the clansman's prophet since I was born. Even Qingyu didn't know that I was the elder sister and not the elder brother. The prophet once said that the first person to discover that I am a woman will be able to help me become the ruler and successfully avenge my clansmen. With my current abilities, helping you become a sovereign is nothing more than a fantasy. Night Sorrow shrugged when he heard Mu Baiyu's words. Right now, he was only an intermediate high god. Let alone a ruler, he was still a long way from becoming a divine monarch. There's no such thing as time in the god realm. Given your talent, it's only a matter of time before you become a sovereign. That's something everyone knows. Once you become a sovereign, you can come back and help me. Wouldn't that work? Mu Baiyu slowly took off the mask on his face, revealing a sorrowful and peerless face. Mu Baiyu's face was so beautiful that it was a little soul-stirring. It could be said that it was at a level that could cause the downfall of a country. Even though Night Sorrow had seen countless beauties, this was the first time he had seen such a stunning beauty. Although his wives were all outstanding beauties, none of them had such a unique temperament that made one want to take pity on them. At this moment, Night Sorrow somewhat understood why the prophet of the Feather Clan had put on a mask for him. It was because it could save him a lot of unnecessary trouble. But after I become the Divine King, I might be gone for a long time. Night Sorrow explained. As for what the Phoenix ancestor had said and the Eternal Supreme Realm, he naturally wouldn't mention it. It's fine. When you become the Divine King, I'll go with you wherever you go. Mu Baiyu said. Then, she asked, Night Sorrow, I heard that you have many beautiful wives. It's like this. I originally had 6 wives, but now I'm about to have a 7th. Yishang didn't try to hide anything and spoke openly. Oh. The 7th wife is the new Tianyan school's Jing Yun, right? She's very talented. At the very least, she can become the Divine King. Mu Baiyu was very familiar with the matters of the Tianyan school. Yes, it's her. Since senior sister has explained everything, shall we leave? Night Sorrow looked at Mu Baiyu and said. At this moment, Mu Baiyu, who had recovered her female voice, said, the prophet has made a prophecy. The fetters between us will be born after we do the deed. Let us begin now. What? That's not right, senior sister. Night Sorrow awkwardly responded to Mu Baiyu's words out of the blue. Wasn't the deed between husband and wife supposed to be that kind of thing? There's nothing wrong with it. Since it's a prophecy, let's make it come true. After saying that, Mu Baiyu began to undress. The white silk binding her chest was removed, and her graceful figure was gradually revealed. Senior sister, this isn't right. Let's leave. If you want to become a ruler, I'll help you in the future. Night Sorrow turned his head away, not daring to look any further. Although he was already a high god, he was still a hot-blooded man. Seeing Mu Baiyu's pitiful appearance, which made people want to take pity on her with just a glance, Yi Shiwen had a strange reaction. No, the prophet's prophecies have never been wrong. Mu Baiyu explained and continued, if you don't cooperate with senior sister, then senior sister will speak with her strength. Senior sister, this isn't right. Let's leave. Night Sorrow said helplessly. What the hell is this? The legendary invincible Mu Baiyu was not only a woman, but she also wanted to do that kind of thing with him. You're a man, and you have a lot of wives. What are you afraid of? I'm just an inexperienced woman. I'm not afraid. Although Mu Baiyu sounded a little domineering when she said this, her face was already flushed red. After saying this, she didn't wait for Night Sorrow to react. She unleashed her powerful divine domain and enveloped him within it. Although she was an invincible divine sovereign, her true battle strength was not inferior to an ordinary divine king. Night Sorrow, who was suppressed by her divine domain, was unable to resist at all. He was directly pushed to the ground of the clear sky pagoda. Mu Baiyu, who was riding on Night Sorrow's body, used some methods to remove the blue phoenix battle armor and other clothes from his body. Then, she began to move. However, Mu Baiyu clearly didn't have any experience in this aspect. Although they were already at this stage, the two didn't take the final step. Night Sorrow, who was being pressed down by Mu Baiyu's body, was being tortured to the point of unbearable pain. However, he couldn't cry out in pain. If it was one of his wives or even Jing Yun on top of him, Night Sorrow would have chosen to be more direct. At this moment, he could only endure silently. In the clear sky pagoda, 4 to 6 hours passed like this. Mu Baiyu, whose face was flushed red, finally stopped. She got down from Night Sorrow's body and put on her clothes. She said, you don't need to take responsibility for me. You just need to help me become a sovereign. What kind of logic is this? Is this how I owe you a favor? Hearing Mu Baiyu's words, Night Sorrow sullenly thought to himself. However, when such a thing happened between a man and a woman, no matter how one looked at it, the man was the one taking advantage. He didn't open his mouth to refute. Chapter 2638. When he returned to Night Moon, Night Sorrow's body still had some reaction, but he was secretly remorseful for a while. Seeing that Night Sorrow had returned, Sikong Chuyu immediately asked with concern, Husband, is the battle outside over? How was it? Did our Tianyun school successfully repel the extraterrestrial demons? Of course we've repelled them. Including Ning Changhe, the 5 divine kings who caused trouble have all been killed. As Night Sorrow spoke, he took out the bottle that Tan Qingfeng had given him and said, This is one of the divine kings of the extraterrestrial demons. When I'm free, I'll choose to kill him directly and turn him into merit power. What an evil aura. Even through the bottle, I can feel the chilling evil. 13. Quickly keep it. Yang Lei, who had walked over, felt uncomfortable facing the bottle and quickly spoke up. All right. I'll keep it. I won't take it out again. Night Sorrow quickly kept the bottle and looked at everyone. Just now, Tianyun school was in chaos. Were there any casualties in Night Moon Dynasty? Everyone has been staying at Night Moon Peak and Endless Peak. They didn't participate in the battle. No one was injured or missing. Lin Piaomiao, who had just done a head count, spoke up. Now that the sovereign bloodline in her body was growing, her aura was also getting stronger. Sensing the change in Lin Piaomiao's aura, Night Sorrow immediately said, Sister Xian Er, you should hurry up and learn a secret technique to suppress your aura. This can't go on. Lin Piaomiao's aura was getting stronger and stronger. It even gave people a terrifying feeling. Night Sorrow was worried that she would be targeted by sovereigns in the future. After all, to become a sovereign, one would need the sovereign origin. Lin Piaomiao's sovereign bloodline contained the sovereign origin. If the sovereigns found out, the consequences would be unimaginable. All right. I'll do my best to suppress the bloodline. After Night Sorrow gave his instructions, Lin Piaomiao nodded and asked with a smile, I can consider this matter at length. But you and Jing Yun's matter can't be delayed any longer, right? Exactly. There's no time like the present. Let's set the date for today. Yang Lei responded and continued, although it's a little rude to Jing Yun, most of us have been through this. Let's not stick to those complicated formalities. You. What are you talking about? Hearing Lin Piaomiao and Yang Lei's words, Jing Yun blushed. It's settled then. You don't have to be shy. Women have to go through these things in the end. Sikong Chuyu smiled and said, we'll take you to meet your parents, grandfather, and the others. Then, under Jing Yun's reluctance, she and Night Sorrow were dragged by the girls to greet Night Sorrow's father, Yi Wuyo, and the others. After paying respects to his parents, he enjoyed the banquet. Night Sorrow and Jing Yun were escorted by Datura to a room that had been decorated with festive colors. Little sister Jing Yun is still young. Treat her gently. Before leaving, Datura instructed with a smile. Thinking back to his first time with Datura, Night Sorrow felt that it was similar to the incident with Mu Baiyu. Although he expelled these thoughts from his mind, he looked at Jing Yun and said, Jing Yun, from today onwards, you and I are husband and wife. I will take good care of you. Thank you for taking care of Night Moon's people along the way. Jing Yun replied with a red face. She felt that the air was a little hot and the atmosphere was a little dry. The wedding was a little casual, but I won't be casual about my feelings for you. Night Sorrow hugged Jing Yun, who was sitting on the chair, by the waist. He had been tortured by Mu Baiyu just now and couldn't hold it in anymore. Chuyu told me about the matters between men and women. Can I be on top? Night Sorrow slowly placed Jing Yun on the bed and asked shyly. When she said this, her face was so red that it looked like it could drip water. Why must you be on top? Night Sorrow asked curiously. Chuyu said that it would be more comfortable, Jing Yun said softly and removed her clothes and climbed onto Night Sorrow's body. What fate? I'm being pressed down again. Night Sorrow, who was being pressed down by Jing Yun, discovered that Jing Yun was similar to Mu Baiyu. She didn't know how to distance herself. This time, he didn't hesitate and helped Jing Yun complete her transformation amidst her tears. When the sun rose the next day, Jing Yun, who had changed her hair accessories, looked obviously different from before. How was it, little 13? Did you feel good in the bridal chamber? Yang Lei asked with a fake smile when they were about to eat breakfast. This. Night Sorrow chuckled. Jing Yun, let's forget about this matter. You better control yourself in the future. If something like this happens again, we'll teach you a lesson. Yang Lei snorted and lectured Night Sorrow. Yes. You're right, senior sister. Night Sorrow hurriedly nodded. He thought of Mu Baiyu and thought to himself, my peach blossoms are really strange. Sikong Chuyu didn't dwell on this matter. She asked, Sect Master and the others have already gone to the other sects to help. You didn't go with them. Do you have any plans? I'm going to save Aunt Fei first. If I don't save her, I won't be able to rest easy. Night Sorrow explained his plans. In the blink of an eye, many years had passed since Wu Lingfei had been captured. He had ascended to the middle high god level. It was time to move. Is there any news from Senior Tianqin? Sikong Chuyu continued. No, but I have a way to contact her. As long as I reach the Purple Mansion Divine Lord, I should be able to find Senior Tianqing. Knight Sorrow looked at his wives and said, "This matter isn't easy to handle. It might take some time. Take good care of yourselves. Ai. You've only been back for a few days and you're leaving again." Aoi was a little sad to hear Knight Sorrow's words. Ai. Knight Sorrow felt a little upset when he saw Aoi's expression. If nothing unexpected happened, after he became the Divine King, he would follow Paragon Phoenix Ancestor to the Eternal Supreme Realm. At that time, who knew how long it would take for him to return and reunite with his family? Datura chuckled when he saw the tense atmosphere. "We're going to save Aunt Fei anyway. A day or two won't make much of a difference. We've all been separated for some time, but let's accompany our husband tonight." Bah! Yang Lei immediately snorted when she heard Datura's words. But then she said, "But little 13's abilities are indeed getting stronger and stronger. I'm sure Sister Jing Yun won't be able to satisfy him. Let's do as Aluo says." That's not a good idea, is it? Knight Sorrow refused on the surface, but he was inwardly overjoyed. After being tortured by Mu Baiyu, he didn't dare to go too far when he was with Jing Yun. He truly did need to release himself. Look at you. You're saying no, but you're already grinning. Men really are lustful creatures. Chapter 2639. Am I that lustful? Knight Sorrow asked with a smile. He felt that he had hidden it well and shouldn't be seen through. However, his wives knew their husband very well and began to mock him one after another. But after that, they felt sorry for Yi Shang, who had fought so hard, so they did everything they could to let him enjoy the treatment of an emperor. This drawn-out war lasted for an entire 7 days. In fact, Knight Sorrow felt that he could still fight. But on this day, Long Tianqing unexpectedly came to Tianyun School. Hearing the news of Senior Long Tianqing's arrival, Knight Sorrow and his wives quickly got out of their ridiculous state. Sikong Chuyu and the others wanted to get up and greet Long Tianqing, but their bodies couldn't take it anymore. In the end, only Lin Piaomiao, who had been treated by Long Tianqing, got up and accompanied Knight Sorrow to see Long Tianqing. Knight Sorrow brought Lin Piaomiao into Night Moon Peak's guest hall. He saw Long Tianqing sitting on a chair and drinking tea. He immediately greeted, "Senior Tianqing, you're here? How is God Jinyuan? He cultivated the 33 Heaven Star Soul secret technique that you gave him. His soul has completely recovered. He's only missing his body. If he can get the Heavenly Phoenix's 1000 transformations pill, he should be able to recover completely." Long Tianqing's face was filled with joy. She thought that God Jinyuan had died long ago. She didn't expect him to have a chance to recover completely. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow continued, "Senior Tianqing, I haven't found the recipe for the Heavenly Phoenix's 1000 transformations pill. Currently, someone is helping to find clues. I believe that we will receive news soon. You and God Jinyuan don't have to rush. It's nothing. The most precious thing in the realm of gods is time, but also the least valuable thing. We can afford to wait." Long Tianqing nodded and looked at Knight Sorrow. "You've broken through to High God. Your aura is very strong. That's good. But you need to become stronger. Senior Tianqing, do you have something to say?" Knight Sorrow was puzzled. She mentioned his strength. Obviously, she had something to say. "Yes. This matter involves your concubine Wu." Long Tianqing confirmed. When they discovered that Wu Lingfei possessed the pure Ice Phoenix bloodline, they refused to release her no matter what. However, when I suggested that you and Ling Yun should have a fair fight, they agreed. In Ling Yun's opinion, it's impossible for you to catch up to him in terms of strength within a short period of time. That's why he agreed to the bet. Senior Tianqing's words just now mean that the current me is not his match. Knight Sorrow was elated to hear that Ling Yun had agreed to the bet. Ling Yun had always been a shadow in his heart, and he had to defeat him with his own hands. According to my judgment, even though you're very strong and are ranked 3rd on the upper god list, you shouldn't be Ling Yun's opponent at the moment. Initially, he had not stood out too much on the god list, but after absorbing the essence of the firmament, his strength had soared by leaps and bounds. A few days ago, he even succeeded in challenging Yunzhe, who was ranked 1st on the divine list. Now that he has become a divine lord, his strength should be very powerful. Long Tianqing explained the ins and outs of the matter. In the end, the reason why Ling Yun had become so strong was because he had plundered some of Knight Sorrow's luck and obtained the firmament's essence that originally belonged to him. No matter how strong he becomes, I will definitely take back what belongs to me with my own hands. Knight Sorrow's body was filled with a strong fighting spirit. Listen to me first. Ling Yun agreed to the bet, but he has another request. That is, within 100 years, and you need to find the origin essence. Long Tianqing took a sip of tea and said. Origin essence, what is that? Knight Sorrow asked in confusion. He had read many books in the firmament, but he had never heard of something like the origin essence. From the name, you can tell that it has something to do with the firmament's essence. It is a kind of crystal formed by the firmament's essence. After countless years of baptism, it finally evolved into the most precious sovereign-level material in the firmament, the origin essence. Long Tianqing described the situation and said, I've already helped you investigate it. Recently, an ancient world that only high gods can enter has been discovered in the god realm. There's the aura of origin essence in there. You can go there and look for opportunities to improve your strength. In my opinion, if you want to defeat Ling Yun, you need to at least become a high god. After all, his current strength has already surpassed the Purple Mansion Divine Lords on the Divine Lord list. Thank you, Senior Tianqing, for being so considerate of Knight Sorrow. Where is the ancient world you are talking about? Knight Sorrow asked. Ling Yun's request for the origin essence was clearly unfair, but for Wu Lingfei's safety, he did not hesitate to do his best to find it. Finding the origin essence for Ling Yun was not a big deal, as long as he could kill Ling Yun. The ancient world is under the rule of all heaven. I will take you there. However, you must be prepared. There are many dangers in the ancient world, and there may even be the existence of the Divine King. Moreover, the high gods that the ruler's manners have never revealed themselves will all enter. After all, no one wants to miss out on a sovereign-level material. Long Tianqing explained to Yi Shang about the god realm's ranking list. In the eyes of some, the strongest high gods were the number 1 high gods, Yunzhe, or number 2 high gods, Xianyuan Yufeng. In reality, they were very likely to be hidden talents of the ruler's manners. After all, there were no sovereigns in the firmament. The 7 sovereigns were the strongest forces in the firmament. Their foundation was far beyond the reach of the other forces in the firmament. Knight Sorrow has also speculated about what Senior Tianqing said. In my opinion, the current high god list is indeed lacking in quality. When Knight Sorrow was fighting against Wu Li, Xianyuan Chanya, and the other high gods on the firmament god list, he was actually wondering if there were other hidden high gods in the firmament. Now that he had an answer, he was filled with a strong desire to fight. Your judgment is correct. Actually, it's not just the high gods list. Even the feather god list, which you once occupied first place, is the same. Long Tianqing continued, you should go say goodbye to your family. We will set off as soon as possible. Senior Tianqing, Knight Sorrow has a request. Knight Sorrow mentioned that Gung Chen's Dantian had been destroyed, hoping that she could help. Long Tianqing pondered for a moment, then said, then we will stay for 7 days. We will set off on time after 7 days. Knight Sorrow thanked Senior Tianqing on behalf of my friend. Knight Sorrow thanked her and immediately ordered someone to find Gung Chen. Under Long Tianqing's treatment, Gung Chen's Dantian quickly recovered. After treating him, Long Tianqing brought Knight Sorrow to the ancient world under the rule of all heaven. Knight Sorrow was looking forward to this trip to the ancient world. Chapter 2640. Knight Sorrow followed Long Tianqing to the ancient world of the all-heaven ruler's domain. This newly discovered ancient world was completely under the control of the All-Heaven ruler's manor. Every high god who wanted to enter had to pay 300,000 deity crystals. This was a sky-high price for ordinary high gods. Fortunately, Knight Sorrow had accumulated a lot of wealth. Although he was unhappy, he still paid 300,000 deity crystals. However, after Knight Sorrow paid the deity crystals, he did not get the opportunity to enter the ancient world immediately. It turned out that the All-Heaven ruler had ordered that the high gods of the All-Heaven ruler's manor would be the first to explore the ancient world for a year before other high gods could enter. When Knight Sorrow arrived, the high gods of the All-Heaven ruler's domain had only been in for 7 months. He would have to wait for 5 months. Since we're already here, we might as well take things as they come. Find a city to settle down in and I'll go to Seaside City. After you come out of the ancient world, find me at Jinyuan's cave residence. Long Tianqing was already used to this kind of thing. She brought Knight Sorrow to Wanlin City, the city closest to the ancient world. After helping Knight Sorrow purchase a residence to rest in, she left for Seaside City. This courtyard is quite elegant. 5 months is just the right time to improve my strength. After setting up a formation array for the courtyard, Knight Sorrow entered the spatial artifact to cultivate. After breaking through to the intermediate high god realm, he had yet to consolidate his cultivation. This was a good opportunity. Cultivation knew no time. In the blink of an eye, 4 months had passed in the divine realm. Knight Sorrow, who had been cultivating in the Clear Sky Pagoda, had spent 33 years. After so many years of consolidation, he had completely consolidated his intermediate high god realm and was not far from becoming a high god. This kind of cultivation speed would be a fantasy for others, but Knight Sorrow did not feel any discomfort. With the help of the power of virtue, he would not be stuck in a bottleneck during his cultivation. I wonder which high gods have come to the ancient world this time. It would be great if I could get some information. There was still 1 month before they entered the ancient world. Knight Sorrow, who had finished his ascetic cultivation, had nothing to do, so he went to the city to look for information stores like the secret pavilion. Although he had found them, the results were not ideal. This was because the high gods who had come this time were rather mysterious. Some of them had not even fought in public. It could be said that this trip to the ancient world was a complete encounter. Coincidentally, Knight Sorrow met Murong Tsai of the Heavenly Immortal sect on the street. At this moment, Murong Tsai was walking with 2 male cultivators with very strong auras. These 2 were both high gods, but their strength was clearly above Murong Tsai's. Knight Sorrow could tell with a single glance that they were probably geniuses hidden by the sovereign's manor. Seeing Yi Shang on the street, Murong Kai-yi was obviously pleasantly surprised. Her face bloomed with a happy smile. She took a few steps forward and greeted him. Yi Shang, I guessed that you would come, but I didn't expect to meet you here. Seeing Murong Kai-yi greet a male cultivator so happily, the faces of the 2 male cultivators behind her darkened significantly. Clearly, the 2 of them were interested in Murong Kai-yi. Knight Sorrow was also very happy to meet Murong Kai-yi. He smiled and replied, meeting you here is truly a pleasant surprise. Hee hee. Knight Sorrow. Come, let me introduce you to these 2 senior brothers. Although the 2 of them are not on the god list, they have the strength to fight for first place. Murong Kai-yi smiled and led Knight Sorrow to Shang Shuyuan and Zhu Qing. She introduced, this is Knight Sorrow, and these are my senior brothers Shang Shuyuan and Zhu Qing. Greetings, senior brothers. Hearing the surname Shang Shuyuan, Knight Sorrow thought of Shang Xuyan and Sovereign Voiceless Sound. He very politely called them senior brothers. After all, Shang Xuyan had left a good impression on him, and Sovereign Voiceless Sound had helped him block Sovereign Dark Moon. This was a favor that Knight Sorrow would remember. Senior brother? Who are you? Are you qualified to call me senior brother Shang Shuyuan? However, hearing Knight Sorrow call him senior brother, Shang Shuyuan's tone was cold and disdainful. Hee hee. Zhu Qing didn't even speak. She just sneered, her eyes full of arrogance. Senior brother Shang Shuyuan. What do you mean? Seeing Shang Shuyuan and Zhu Qing acting so arrogantly, Murong Kai-yi, who was originally smiling, immediately became gloomy. In her opinion, Night Sorrow was one of her most important friends. Even Shang Shuyuan and Zhu Qing's status was inferior to his. What do I mean? I, Shang Shuyuan, come from the sovereign clan and have the talent to challenge the first place on the god list. How can anyone call me senior brother? Shang Shuyuan said coldly. He looked at Night Sorrow and said, for the sake of Kai-yi, I will forgive your disrespect today. Scram. Ha ha ha. Forgive my disrespect? Night Sorrow didn't get angry. Instead, he laughed and asked, you talk so big. Does Sovereign Clear Sound know? Sovereign Clear Sound gave people an amiable feeling. He didn't expect her junior to talk so big. He was a little unhappy. Sovereign Clear Sound is high and mighty. Is she someone you can call? When Night Sorrow said Sovereign Clear Sound's name, Shang Shuyuan's battle intent immediately rose. He looked like he wanted to kill someone. No matter how strong you are, even if you are a sovereign, it's just a name. Why can't I call her that? Even a clay figurine had a temper. Yi Shan was already enraged by Shang Shuyuan. The 7 sovereigns were indeed high and mighty and practically ruled the god realm. However, there was always someone stronger. To the god realm, the more important ones were the sovereigns who didn't leave their names behind but fought in the eternal supreme world. After experiencing the matter of sovereign ancestor Phoenix, Night Sorrow was already used to facing sovereigns. Bastard! You are treacherous. Sovereigns are high and mighty. You can't judge them. Shang Shuyuan shouted and was about to attack. At this time, Murong Sai stopped him and said, Senior brother Shang Shuyuan, I don't know. You stayed in the family for too long and don't know how to interact. Or born in a sovereign family, you have a natural sense of superiority. But no matter what, today's matter is your fault. You need to apologize to Night Sorrow. You want me to apologize to him? It's already good that I didn't kill him. Shang Shuyuan looked at Murong Sai with a trace of possessiveness. In fact, if not for her, although Shang Shuyuan was arrogant, he wouldn't go so far as to target Night Sorrow. If you say so, then there's no need for us to travel together. Shang Shuyuan's arrogant face made Murong Sai very angry. Her tone immediately became ice cold. I didn't hear wrong, right? So, you're going to leave us 2 geniuses and travel together with him, this trash? Shang Shuyuan said with a look of disbelief, you're not afraid of dying in the ancient world? In my opinion, regardless of character or strength, Night Sorrow is stronger than you 2. If he's trash, then there's no need for you 2 to exist. In addition, he saved my life in the last 7 sect tournament. I trust him very much. Chapter 2641. 7 Sect Grand Competition. That's just a game. It's limited to the Cloud Immortal Continent. There aren't many experts participating. Hearing Murong Kai-yi mention the 7 Sect Grand Competition, Shang Shuyuan said disdainfully, if I was alive, Qing would have easily won the championship. It's not important whether he won the championship or not. What's important is a person's cultivation and character. Murong Kai-yi replied and continued, Night Sorrow is the champion of the High God group in this 7 Sect Grand Competition. I don't see him talking about it. This is a person's magnanimity. Murong Kai-yi, do you know what you're talking about? Have you been brainwashed by this guy? Zhu Qing, who hadn't spoken yet, said coldly, do you know what kind of punishment people will receive for slandering the people of the dominant clans? Quickly apologize to senior brother Shang Su. In his eyes, the people of the dominant clans were high and mighty. No one could disrespect them. Although Zhu Qing was a bit stronger than Shang Shuyuan, she had always regarded him as the leader. I believe that Lord Qing Yin isn't so narrow-minded. Murong Kai-yi snorted coldly and said, after all, she treated Night Sorrow as an equal. Murong Kai-yi, I originally thought that you were a rare genius for cultivating to your current level in the Heavenly Immortal sect. Now it seems that your brain isn't working well. Immediately take your lover and disappear in front of me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Shang Suyuan didn't believe that Lord Qing Yin would treat Night Sorrow as an equal, so he immediately berated her. Whose brain isn't working well? Hearing Shang Suyuan use such words to attack Murong Cai, Yi Shang asked with a cold face. Oh. I wanted to spare your life, but I didn't expect that you would recklessly come forward. How could a piece of trash like you, who doesn't know when to advance or retreat, possibly obtain the appreciation of the Lord's sovereign and treat him as a peer? Shang Suyuan coldly looked at Night Sorrow and said, recently, All Heaven Ruler ordered that no one is allowed to fight in the city. Since you're so arrogant, you won't refuse my challenge, right? In Shang Suyuan's mind, as long as the opponent wasn't from the dominant clans, he wasn't afraid. Originally, I had a good impression of Shang Su family because of Lord Qing Yin. I hope you're just a parasite in the family. If you want to fight, then I, Night Sorrow, will accompany you. Just think of it as helping He Gem and Voiceless discipline her clansmen. The arrogance of the upper void energy made Night Sorrow very unhappy. He had no reason to be afraid of cultivators of the same level. Seeing Night Sorrow agree with Su Yuan, Murong Cai's face immediately changed. She said, Night Sorrow, don't fight with him. He is a genius of the dominant family who relies on resources. If you hurt him, he might retaliate. She wasn't worried about Night Sorrow's strength at all. It's fine. I believe that He Gem and Voiceless isn't such a person. Night Sorrow said nonchalantly. Night Sorrow had a very good impression of Ruler Voiceless sound. She didn't believe that she was an unreasonable person. He Gem and Clear Sound naturally wouldn't target you. However, it's inevitable that there will be parasites in the family. How good can a person who can raise Shang Suyuan be? Murong Cai transmitted her voice to Night Sorrow. The dominant clans were invincible existences in the divine world. No one dared to offend them. Murong Cai felt that if Night Sorrow injured Shang Suyuan, he might suffer a very serious blow. It's fine. As long as I stand on reason, I, Night Sorrow, am not afraid of anyone targeting me. Night Sorrow replied Murong Cai. Then, he looked at Shang Suyuan and said, let's go. For Murong Cai's sake, I won't kill you. However, a lesson is unavoidable. Don't even think about going to the ancient world this time. Shang Suyuan's aura was relatively strong. He was even stronger than Wu Li, who Night Sorrow had defeated. No need to say more. Let's go. Night Sorrow said. Then, he flew out of the city with Murong Cai, Shang Suyuan and Zhu Qing. When they arrived at a desolate mountain, Shang Suyuan said, we are already outside the city. The Overlord of All Heaven's band does not include this place. Let's begin. All right. Make your move. Night Sorrow floated in the air. He did not immediately take out the reincarnation heavenly halberd. He wanted to see Shang Suyuan's strength first. You're just a middle-high god. Why are you pretending to be an expert? Shang Suyuan looked at Night Sorrow with disdain and ridiculed, you should make your move first. Otherwise, you might not have the chance to make your move. All right. Let me see how strong the genius of the dominant clans is. Shang Suyuan's arrogance made Night Sorrow unhappy. He immediately took out the reincarnation heavenly halberd and activated the 33 Heavens battle secret technique. Night Sorrow raised his strength to the highest level. Then, he condensed his divine origin energy and struck out the reincarnation strike. Just as Shang Suyuan was about to use his movement technique to dodge, Lin Yun executed the divine origin dragon lock array and imprisoned him within. Boom! Shang Suyuan, who had not reacted to what was going on, was struck by the reincarnation strike. Although he was protected by an extremely high-grade defensive robe and did not suffer any serious injuries, his strength dropped by 1 level. He fell from the half-step divine lord realm to the upper high god realm. You're just a so-so. Night Sorrow, who had succeeded in one strike, did not stop. He executed the Divine Origin Dragon Lock Array again and imprisoned Shang Su within. Then, he executed the Raging Flames Demon. When the Raging Flames Demon attacked Shang Su Yuan's divine soul, Night Sorrow did not stop and executed the Green Rock Soul-rending roar 3 times in a row, shaking Shang Su Yuan's divine soul to the brink of collapse. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow did not stop. After the Divine Origin Dragon Lock Array was broken, he executed the Unstoppable Thunderbolt. Without waiting for Shang Su Yuan to dodge, he executed the even more powerful Virtuous Dragon Lock Array. Shang Su Yuan, who originally thought that he could easily break out of the sealed space, quickly realized that he could not break out of the various trapping arrays. He could only continue to be beaten. Now that things had developed to this point, he felt that his face was hurting terribly. He had just said that if Night Sorrow did not attack, he would not have the chance to attack. Now, he was completely beaten up and had no strength to retaliate. This is a little lesson on behalf of ruler Qin Yin. In the future, remember to keep a low profile when you roam the pugilistic world. The divine world is not the Shang Su family, nor is it a region ruled by Qin Yin. Not everyone will give you face. After a series of storm-like attacks, Shang Su Yuan was beaten to the point that he had no temper left. He wanted to retaliate, but he was powerless to do so. He felt extremely sullen in his heart. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who did not want to kill Shang Su, stopped and looked at him. You despicable and shameless person. What ability do you have to use underhanded means to plot against me? If you have the ability, let's fight fair and square. Shang Su Yuan, who had escaped from the sealed space, shouted indignantly. The battle just now was the most sullen battle in his life. There was no other battle. Chapter 2642. Although Shang Su Yuan looked miserable, Night Sorrow had shown him mercy. If it wasn't for Dominator Qin Yin, he would have killed him. Shang Su Yuan might be strong and even have the strength to challenge the number 1 on the divine list, but he was definitely a flower cultivated in a greenhouse and lacked battle experience. Excuses. You are such a despicable person. You used shameless means and still act so righteously. You are really despicable. Shang Su Yuan, who had no chance to retaliate at all, had an indignant look on his face as he chattered non-stop. Murong-Sai, who was standing at the side, couldn't stand it anymore. She said disdainfully, if it wasn't for Night Sorrow showing mercy, you would have been killed. Can't you see the gap in strength? Do you think that after leaving the Shang Su family, your opponents will still be like those divine emperors in the family, sparing no effort to feed you? Hearing this, Shang Su Yuan was silent. At this time, Zhu Qing transmitted her voice. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Let's not listen to their excuses. This Night Sorrow is just a little difficult to deal with because of the confinement array he uses. There is still a month before we enter the ancient world. As long as we find a way to break it before then, we can kill him the next time we meet him in the ancient world. That makes sense. Shang Su Yuan responded. He looked at Night Sorrow and Murong-Sai and said, today's battle is my loss. Next time we meet, I will show you the gap in strength. I hope so. Night Sorrow knew that Shang Su Yuan hadn't learned his lesson. However, he didn't have the mood to be entangled with him. After saying that, he flew back to the city with Murong-Sai. After arriving at the house, Murong-Sai looked at Night Sorrow and said, Night Sorrow, how did you know about the ancient world? Ordinary people don't know about it. Did Dominator Qin Yin tell you? Usually, only the big families with deep foundations or the families of the dominators know about it. A senior told me. I want to go in and find something. Night Sorrow explained, but didn't mention Long Tianqing's name. Then, do you know who will be participating in this trip to the ancient world? Murong-Kai continued to ask. After walking with Shang Su Yuan and Zhu Qing, she understood some of the high deities of the ruling families. Hearing Murong-Sai's words, Night Sorrow, who had made a pot of tea for her, said, "I don't know anything." "You know something about it?" "Yes." He listened to the two of them talk about some things. Among them, Jin Yi Dian of the Tianyi clan seemed to be very strong. He had once defeated Shang Su Yuan. In addition, Chao Hualian of the Ruler's Manor, Luo Changtian of the All-Heaven Ruler's Manor, and Xing Xiao of the Dark Moon Ruler's Manor are all said to be very powerful. Murong Cai roughly explained the situation she knew. Other than these people, Yun Zhe, who was ranked first on the divine list, and Xianyuan Yufeng, who was ranked second, were not to be underestimated. Furthermore, for this trip to the ancient world, the dragons and other ancient races had all sent their people. These ancient races had been passed down for countless reincarnations. It wasn't strange for them to have shocking high deity realm geniuses. After listening to Murong Cai's narration, Night Sorrow said embarrassedly, "This time, because of me, you and the people of the ruler's manor got into an unpleasant situation. I'm really sorry. It's a good thing to be separated from them. You don't know that not only are they unruly and arrogant, but they also have some problems with their brains. I'm just traveling with them, but they treat me as their exclusive property. It's very uncomfortable." Murong Cai said somewhat angrily. "In that case, it's fine to offend them." Night Sorrow drank a mouthful of fragrant tea and said, "Do you have a certain understanding of this trip to the ancient world?" "I'm not sure. Perhaps only the people of the All-Heaven Ruler's Manor know what's inside." Murong Cai said truthfully, "The aura of the origin essence can't be concealed, so it should be inside. As for what kind of races live in the ancient world and what kind of dangers it contains, I don't know. It seems that this trip is likely to contain many dangers. We have to make more preparations." Night Sorrow looked at her. "I will enter the spatial artifact for seclusion for a few days. You can find any room to rest." "Okay. Go ahead. I also need to familiarize myself with a lost art." Murong Cai replied in a relaxed tone. "Okay. Wait for me to come out. Let's enter the ancient world together." Night Sorrow said to Murong Cai before entering the spatial artifact to study the ruler's stone. He wanted to see if there was a way for the Samsara halberd to completely absorb it. The ruler's stone was very tyrannical. If it absorbed too much at once, the Samsara halberd could be completely destroyed. In the end, after spending about 3 years in the Clear Sky Pagoda, Night Sorrow successfully strengthened the Samsara halberd's tip with the ruler's stone. The Samsara halberd, which was already close to becoming a divine king divine artifact, had already absorbed a small amount of the ruler's stone's essence and vaguely showed signs of a breakthrough. This was also one of the reasons why Night Sorrow didn't let it absorb anymore. He wasn't sure if he could withstand the thunder tribulation of a king divine artifact. After upgrading the Samsara halberd, there was still some time left. Night Sorrow simply studied a new spear art. Combining the unstoppable thunderbolt, the Samsara strike, and the taboo spear, he created the taboo reincarnation spear, which contained the thunder attribute. The power of this move was much greater than the previous 3 spear arts. In addition, the Void Extreme Shadow body had also improved. Night Sorrow was very satisfied with this. "It's about time. Should we go to the entrance of the ancient world?" Night Sorrow, who had walked out of the Clear Sky Pagoda, saw Murong Cai practicing her sword in the courtyard, and asked. Although Murong Cai's sword art looked very exquisite, it was obviously for recreational use. Obviously, she wasn't really studying the moves. "Okay. Let's go." Murong Cai, who had already familiarized herself with the moves, put away her short sword and left the courtyard side by side with Night Sorrow. When they arrived at the entrance of the ancient world, there were still 3 days left before the 1-year deadline agreed by the ruler of all heaven. At this time, more than 100 people had gathered at the entrance of the ancient world. These people were basically high gods. There were dozens of people whose auras had vaguely reached the level of no ruthlessness. It seems that this trip to the ancient world is the time when the elites of the high gods will really gather. Relatively speaking, the 7th sect grand competition is really not enough. Night Sorrow, who was using his divine soul power to check the cultivation of the people, secretly transmitted a message to Muronkai. Among these people, Muronkai, who was originally ranked in the top few of the high gods list, couldn't even enter the top 60. One could imagine how fierce the competition between the two of them would be. In fact, it wasn't just Night Sorrow who was using his divine soul power. Some other powerful high gods were also constantly checking the strength of others. Chapter 2643. Naturally, the most discussed ones were the high gods from the ruling families. Not only were they powerful, but they also had many life-saving methods that the other high gods didn't have. As for Night Sorrow, no one mentioned him. He and Muronkai stood side by side at the entrance of the ancient world for a few days. The people of All Heaven's rulers' district finally let the high gods in. This time, the high god assembly could finally begin. After entering the ancient world with everyone, Night Sorrow immediately felt the heat wave in front of him. He looked up and saw 3 suns hanging in the sky. This world is so hot. Muronkai, who was beside Night Sorrow, also felt the heat. She even felt like she was floating in the heat wave. This place is not simple. The 3 suns in the sky are not simple, but my eyes can't see through them. Night Sorrow said to Muronkai and then went into the ancient world with her. Muronkai nodded and said, "This world is so hot that I feel uncomfortable." There were more than 100 high gods this time, so when they just entered the ancient world, it was a bit overcrowded. Moreover, the high gods of All Heaven's rulers' manor should have already plundered the nearby areas, so there shouldn't be anything good. The two of them directly chose a direction with no one around and kept moving forward. About a month later, Night Sorrow, who had opened the eye of the sea serpent dragon, found one of the original inhabitants of the ancient world on a barren mountain with sparse vegetation. Their figures were very similar to human cultivators, but they had 2 horns on their heads. They lived in a cave in the barren mountain and wore animal skins around their waist. They looked somewhat primitive. They seemed to be the legendary horn race. Muronkai, who was hiding in the array with Night Sorrow, explained according to some information she had seen, the horns of the horn race are very mysterious. They can sense the existence of heavenly treasures. It seems that this trip to the ancient world, it actually has such an effect. For them, this is not necessarily a good thing. The horn race had such a mysterious ability. If they were encountered by someone with evil intentions, the consequences could be imagined. Night Sorrow sighed with emotion. Muronkai nodded and said, "Indeed. According to historical records, the fate of the horn race is generally very tragic. They are often captured to help in treasure hunting. I think this is one of the main reasons why they chose to avoid the world. Who would have thought that this ancient world would actually appear now? Let's avoid them and search for treasures of heaven and earth in other directions." As the Merit High God, Night Sorrow simply couldn't imprison the horn race and asked them to help find the treasure. Thus, he spoke to Muronkai. Muronkai, who was also preparing to leave, sighed and said, "We can leave, but if the others find out, it will be hard to say. Can we find a way to help them? If the horn people only have these, it should not be difficult to help them. As long as I arrange a concealment formation, they will not be found by others. I just don't know if they will cooperate." Night Sorrow looked at the Horn clan not far away and didn't notice them at all. He did not use the power of his consciousness to investigate. He only estimated by sight that there should be thousands of people in the Horn clan nearby. "Save as many as you see. Let's go and communicate with them," Muronkai said. Among the Horn people in front of them, the strongest was only at the monarch god level. They definitely couldn't resist the many geniuses of the divine world. Night Sorrow agreed and said, "All right. Let's go out. If the situation is not right, you can enter my spatial artifact. I have the confidence to leave. Yeah, I am a woman, so it should be easier to communicate with them. You will be my backup," Muronkai said and took the lead. When they were about 1,000 miles away from the Horn people, the two were discovered. Who are you? What do you want? Seeing Night Sorrow and Muronkai appear, the dozen horn people in the vicinity immediately became alert and questioned them. We are cultivators from the divine world. We are here to remind you that this ancient world is no longer peaceful. Your horn people have special abilities and may be targeted by vicious people. It's best to choose to avoid the world, Muronkai said faintly. Avoid the world? Are we not considered to be avoiding the world? Hearing Muronkai's words, a middle-aged man in the corner said with a gloomy face, You two are also plotting against the horn people, right? I disdain to do such a thing. Muronkai was just about to open her mouth when Yishang, who was using the power of virtue, released his own god domain and vast power of virtue. Currently, his power of virtue had already reached a certain level, giving people an extremely vigorous feeling. A man of virtue? Seeing the power of virtue on Night Sorrow's body, the middle-aged man who was questioning the two immediately became puzzled. He asked, Where did you come from, merit god? What is your purpose in coming here? The horn people subconsciously let down their guard against Night Sorrow, who had a body of virtue. We entered this ancient world to find opportunities. There are more than 100 high gods. Although they are all high gods, their true strength is not inferior to divine monarchs. Night Sorrow explained and continued, If there is no accident, your horn people will encounter more divine world cultivators in the near future. The best thing to do is to temporarily hide and avoid the limelight. Merit God, more than 100 high gods. It seems that the forefathers' prophecy has come true. Hearing this, the middle-aged man from the horn people muttered and introduced himself. I am Jiao Hui, what is your name? I am Night Sorrow, this is my friend Muronkai. Night Sorrow said and looked at Muronkai. According to the records of the clan, our horn people may encounter a great disaster this time. Jiao Hui sighed and said, Can the two of you come with us to the clan for a chat? Sure. How many people are there in your horn people? Is your clan the only one in this ancient world? Night Sorrow asked. If Muronkai asked this question, she would probably not hide it, but she did not dislike it when he asked. Our horn people only have a few thousand people, all of whom live in this barren mountain. Jiao Hui explained the situation of the horn people and continued, As for this ancient world, there are dozens of clans, among which the Golden Crow clan is the strongest. Usually, everyone lives in peace. But this time, with so many divine world cultivators, a great battle is unavoidable. Your horn people only have a few thousand people. I have a way to help you get through this crisis. Night Sorrow said as he walked with Jiao Hui to the horn people tribe. Hearing this, Jiao Hui smiled and said, The forefather once predicted this, I believe you. But the forefather also mentioned something else. Chapter 26:44. Before the old ancestor left, he divined something. That is, the merit god will appear, and the day our horn clan will leave the Golden Crow world. Jiao Hui said excitedly. Their horn clan had been silent for many years in the Golden Crow world, waiting for the old ancestor's prophecy to come true. You said this place is called the Golden Crow world? The strongest clan in this ancient world is the Golden Crow clan? Night Sorrow asked. He had heard of the Golden Crow clan, but he had never seen one that was especially strong. Yes. I heard that the Golden Crow clan has the Divine King. The Divine King is the absolute king in this ancient world. Jiao Hui explained to Night Sorrow and continued, Night Sorrow merit god, why don't I bring you two to the clan and have a chat with the patriarch? I don't know much about some things. Okay. Bring me there. Night Sorrow answered and looked at Muronkai. Let's go together. Yes. Let's go. The Horn clan is very pitiful. Let's try our best to help them. Muronkai said emotionally. There were still sporadic members of the Horn clan in the divine world, but they were basically imprisoned as slaves to help people find treasures. Following Jiao Hui to the gathering place of the Horn clan, more than a dozen children of different heights gathered around curiously and asked Muronkai questions. They were not very interested in Night Sorrow. Seeing this, Jiao Hui smiled. Night Sorrow Merit God, why don't you come with me to see the Patriarch? Okay. Lead the way. Night Sorrow said. Then, under Jiao Hui's lead, he walked into a deep and ancient cave. In the deepest part of the cave, there was a spacious hall. A skinny old man with his eyes closed sat cross-legged on a stone platform in the center of the hall. Patriarch, this is Night Sorrow Merit God. The person foretold by the old ancestor has appeared. The Patriarch Jiao Kong seemed to have fallen into a deep sleep. Jiao Hui went forward and called out softly. Seeing that there was no effect, he stretched out his arms and shook. Cough cough. After being shaken for a while, Jiao Kong slowly opened his heavy eyelids. When he saw Night Sorrow, his originally unfocused gaze immediately became clear. He stood up and said excitedly, Merit God. You have appeared, you have finally appeared. Greetings, clan leader. My name is Night Sorrow. I possess the power of merit. However, I am not a merit god, said Night Sorrow courteously. He felt a little strange being called the merit god. There's nothing wrong with it. Merit god, come with me. Jiao Kong, who had completely recovered, said something to Night Sorrow. He then looked at Jiao Hui and said, You can leave. You don't have the right to enter the place we are going. Yes, Lord Patriarch. Jiao Hui turned around and walked out. At this moment, Night Sorrow said, Jiao Hui, help me take care of my friend. Don't worry, Merit God. Jiao Hui said and left the cave. Under the lead of Jiao Kong, Night Sorrow walked through a secret passage in the deepest part of the cave and into a long corridor covered with stone walls. These are the prophecies left behind by the Patriarch. 2 of them have your image. Jiao Kong said as he brought Night Sorrow to a stone wall and pointed at the mural. It really is me. How is this possible? Looking at the mural, Night Sorrow said in disbelief. He cultivated the power of merit. Logically speaking, it should be impossible for him to be divined. At this moment, Night Sorrow suddenly recalled the words of the ancestor Phoenix and asked in shock, could it be that the Horn race's patriarch has the body of a sovereign? 30,000 reincarnations ago, the patriarch cultivated to the sovereign level. The mural he left behind completely disappeared. After knowing that the patriarch left, some powerful races began to target the Horn race. The Horn race originally had 1 million people, but today, there are less than 10,000 of them left. Jiao Kong sighed and continued, if this continues, the Horn race will be completely wiped out in a few reincarnations. It really is a sovereign. It seems that the Horn race's sovereign patriarch is heading to the eternal sovereign world to fight. It turned out that the sovereign had divined some information about him. While Night Sorrow was shocked, he couldn't help but feel grief and indignation for the Horn race. A race that had given birth to a sovereign should have been endlessly prosperous, but the Horn race's sovereign went to the eternal sovereign world to fight for the divine realm. His race was almost targeted and exterminated. The patriarch didn't say where exactly he was going. However, in the prophecy he left behind, he asked the entire Horn race to follow you. When you are qualified to go there, we will follow you. Jiao Kong said with anticipation. Up until now, the Horn race didn't even have a divine king. There were only 3 or 4 divine lords. This was too pitiful for a race that had given birth to a sovereign. But I once heard a paragon say that the battles in the eternal paragon world are extremely cruel. Basically, only the divine king and above have the strength to fight. Even sovereigns aren't considered strong there. Only sovereigns can stand firm there. If the Horn race has declined like this, it will be difficult for you to go to the eternal sovereign world. Night Sorrow said worriedly. But the patriarch said that going to the eternal sovereign world is our race's only chance at survival. If we stay in the divine realm, we will be wiped out sooner or later. Jiao Kong sighed. All right. In that case, I will take you with me when I go. Night Sorrow was deeply moved that a sovereign race had declined like this. He agreed without hesitation. From now on, the Horn race will follow the orders of the merit god of Night Sorrow until we enter the eternal sovereign world. Jiao Kong suddenly bowed to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow hurriedly helped him up and said, I originally wanted to set up a concealment formation for you to hide inside and wait for the Divine Realm's cultivators to leave. Since you want to come with me, why don't the entire race enter my spatial treasure? As long as nothing happens to me, the Horn race will be fine. Then I thanked the merit god of Night Sorrow. Jiao Kong didn't have any objections. Then he looked at Yi Shang and said, Yi Shang merit god, the ancestors said that the murals he left behind would be very beneficial to cultivation if you studied them. You can put them in your spatial instrument. All right. Let me take a look at these stone carvings first. The murals in front of him had all been created by sovereigns. They still contain traces of their auras, making them very valuable to study. Night Sorrow said this to Jiao Kong, then looked at the murals. Night Sorrow quickly immersed himself in the murals. It was as if he had personally experienced one scene after another. He couldn't help but sigh at the power of a sovereign. Night Sorrow, you've finally made it here. Just as Night Sorrow was looking at the last mural, an ancient voice suddenly rang out. A blurry figure appeared in the stone wall. Sovereign. Are you the Horn race's sovereign? Chapter 2645. It's me. It's just me before I went to the Eternal Supreme World. The Horn clan's paragon didn't look much different from the other Horn clan members, but he gave off a very different feeling. Jiao Hui, Jiao Kong, and the others, not to mention their strength, their aura was very weak. The Horn clan's paragon gave off a peerless aura. Although he didn't show off, he had an invincible aura just by standing there. Paragon, do you have something to say to Night Sorrow by leaving this phantom behind? Night Sorrow looked at the Horn clan's paragon. The other party's face was very blurry, but his aura was peerless. He was in awe of the Horn clan's paragon and ancestor Phoenix, who fought in the Eternal Supreme World for the safety of the God Realm. Because without these predecessors, the God Realm and the 9 regions world might have been ruled by other regions long ago. There are some words, but not a lot. I left this phantom behind to see you in advance. The Horn clan's paragon said in a vicissitude voice, and continued, you are more outstanding than I imagined. Persevere on your own path. Lord Paragon, Night Sorrow has found his own path, and will cultivate the power of merit to the end. Night Sorrow nodded. The Horn clan's paragon's words made him even more determined to cultivate the power of merit. After I disappear, there will be 3 types of absolute arts left on this wall. As for how many you can comprehend, it will depend on your own comprehension. After the Horn clan's paragon said this, he said somewhat embarrassedly, the other thing is the recent calamity of the Horn clan. Lord Paragon, don't worry. I will be responsible for the safety of the Horn clan when you are fighting in the Eternal Supreme World. In fact, even if the Horn clan's paragon didn't appear, Night Sorrow would still fool the Horn clan's safety. Sigh. This time, the calamity of the Horn clan will probably exceed your imagination. The Horn clan's paragon sighed. He felt a sense of helplessness. The foundation he left behind when he left back then had long been used up. Once the Horn clan was exposed, they would have no way to protect themselves. Night Sorrow will do his best. Night Sorrow solemnly promised. Although he can't completely guarantee the safety of the Horn people, he can guarantee that he will try his best to fool this group. With your words, I'm relieved. Back then, I predicted that you would come here to search for Origin Gold Essence, so I prepared some for you. Just as the voice of the Horn clan's supreme being fell, a stone wall collapsed. Then, a small square box emitting golden light floated out from within. It's actually Origin Essence. Night Sorrow took the box and sensed a trace of aura coming from the box. He was sure that this was an item born from the Origin. Origin Essence Gold is a necessary material to forge Dominator-level divine artifacts. You will definitely be able to use them in the future. Take good care of them. After the Horn Clan's supreme martial artist explained the matter of the origin essence gold, he continued, compared to what you have obtained, you will definitely bear more. I hope that you will not give up on our clan so easily. Don't worry, Knight Sorrow has always been a man of his word. He said that he would do his best to protect the Horn people. Knight Sorrow promised again. At this time, the phantom of the Horn Clan's supreme being had clearly dimmed. He finally reminded, in this ancient world, don't be enemies with the Golden Crow clan. They are invincible. Yes. Lord Supreme Martial Artist, Knight Sorrow will remember these words. Do you have anything else to say? Seeing the phantom of the Horn Clan's supreme being getting weaker and weaker, Knight Sorrow quickly asked. In this world, it's easy to enter but hard to leave. Take care of yourself. The Horn Clan's supreme being sighed. Easy to enter but hard to leave? Ordinary ancient worlds can be entered and exited as long as one is in the modern world. Hearing the other party's reminder, Knight Sorrow thought doubtfully. Knight Sorrow merit God, not good. The existence of the Horn People tribe has been exposed. Some God Realm cultivators have already discovered this place. Several God Lords in the tribe are fighting together. After the phantom of the Horn Clan's supreme being disappeared, Knight Sorrow didn't have time to sigh at the contents of the stone wall before Jiao Hui came in to inform him. It turned out that not long after Knight Sorrow and Murong Tsai appeared, several God Realm cultivators also appeared here. After discovering the existence of the Horn People and the entire tribe had so many people, how could they remain calm? They immediately took action and captured several members of the Horn People. The rest of the Horn People naturally resisted with all their strength, alarming the others. However, these God Realm cultivators were quite strong. The Horn People's God Lords were no match for them at all. Helplessly, Jiao Hui could only come in and invite Knight Sorrow. I didn't expect Lord Supreme Martial Artist's prophecy to come so quickly. Knight Sorrow sighed and looked at Jiao Hui. Where is the battle? Quickly bring me there. Knight Sorrow merit God, please follow me. This is urgent. I hope you can help our tribe to escape. If our Horn People is controlled by them, the consequences will be unimaginable. I'm afraid we will all become lowly slaves. Jiao Hui's face had a trace of pleading. The heavens had given them a unique talent, but it was also coveted by other races. Don't worry, I will do my best to help your Horn People escape. While speaking, Knight Sorrow asked Jiao Hui to speed up. Then, he simply put him into a spatial artifact and brought him along. Not long after, Knight Sorrow left the cave and came to the Horn People tribe. At this moment, 5 God Realm cultivators were fighting with the Horn People. Although these 5 were God Realm cultivators, their strength was definitely stronger than the Horn People's God Lords. During the battle, there was a hint of ridicule. Among them, the other male cultivators used all kinds of dirty words when fighting with Murong Tsai. Bastard. Seeing this male cultivator's performance, Knight Sorrow immediately rebuked him. He said, "Who are you? And who are you?" The male cultivator who had just ridiculed Murong Tsai asked disdainfully. Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow did not mention the name of Tianyan School, as he did not want his sect to be implicated. Because this time, those who had entered the ancient world were either from the ruling families or the God Realm cultivators of the major races. Oh. Knight Sorrow, the third on the God Realm ranking? Very well, I, Luo Changtian, would like to learn from you. Luo Changtian's face had a hint of mockery. In reality, he did not take Knight Sorrow seriously at all. In his opinion, his strength was completely above the God Realm ranking. Even Yun Zhe, who was first on the God Realm ranking, was no match for him. All right. Then, as you wish. Tsai, go help the others. Knight Sorrow opened the sea serpent eye and observed. Among the 5 God Realm cultivators, Luo Changtian was the strongest. He was prepared to attack him first. At this time, Murong Tsai reminded, he is Luo Changtian from the All-Heaven ruling residence that I told you about before. He is a true genius among the God Realm cultivators. You have to be careful. No worries. Even if I can't beat him now, I still have a backup plan. Chapter 2646. Luo Changtian was a powerful high god trained by the All-Heaven Sovereign Manor. He was much stronger than Wu Li, who Night Sorrow had fought before. In terms of strength alone, the mid-level high god Night Sorrow was at a disadvantage. Looks like I'll have to use my trump card. With Night Sorrow's participation, the horn race was immediately freed from the passive situation. Both sides were evenly matched, so he wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he focused on sensing the strength of the top high gods in the god world. You're pretty strong. You're stronger than I thought, but you're nothing in front of me. I'm done playing with you. I don't want other experts to appear and steal my opportunity. The entire horn race will become my slave. Luo Changtian let out an unbridled laugh as he unleashed an ultimate technique. Thousand Snake Heart Killing Palm. The power of this palm strike was extremely overbearing and vaguely carried a trace of viciousness. It gave people an extremely dangerous feeling. Facing this palm strike was like facing the tongue of a venomous snake. This palm is no small matter. Looks like I'll have to use my trump card too. Facing Luo Changtian's palm, Night Sorrow activated the 33 Heavens Battle secret technique, instantly increasing his strength. Then, he used the forbidden reincarnation spear that he had just researched. The moment Night Sorrow used the Samsara halberd and used the forbidden reincarnation spear, Luo Changtian was stunned. The spear gave him too much of a shock. The explosive power of the tip of the spear especially made him tremble. What's going on? Luo Changtian, who thought he could kill Night Sorrow with a single palm, chose to retreat. He didn't dare to face the Samsara halberd that had been strengthened by the Sovereign Stone. However, as he retreated, he summoned a 7-section whip. He was forced to use a divine weapon. Retreat? Can you retreat? Divine Origin Dragon Lock Formation, bind him. Seeing that Luo Changtian had chosen to retreat, Night Sorrow immediately roared and unleashed the Divine Origin Dragon Lock spell, trapping Luo Changtian, who had summoned the 7-section whip, in a sealed space. Suddenly trapped in a sealed space, Luo Changtian, who had never seen such a way of fighting, was stunned for a moment. He didn't break out of the formation quickly. Therefore, Night Sorrow's taboo reincarnation spear forcefully blasted into the sealed space. Although Luo Changtian was a super genius nurtured by the All-Heaven Ruler's manor, he had countless treasures, be it defensive Dharma artifacts or offensive Dharma artifacts, they were the best among the high gods. However, how could it resist the heavenly Samsara halberd that had been strengthened by the ruler's stone? It immediately shattered its divine domain and defensive magic robe. His entire body was blasted into a bloody mess, looking very miserable. The forbidden reincarnation spear is indeed powerful. Seeing Luo Changtian's miserable state, Night Sorrow, who was extremely satisfied with the spear technique he had just researched, nodded his head. At the same time, the forbidden reincarnation spear didn't stop there. It continued to attack Luo Changtian. Good. Very good. You have successfully angered me. Luo Changtian, who was being suppressed, was extremely frustrated. This was his first time out. Naturally, it was also his first time fighting someone outside the All-Heaven Ruler's manor. He didn't expect to be at a disadvantage immediately. So what if I angered you? If you don't take them away, I will kill all of you trash. Night Sorrow threatened furiously. Luo Changtian and the others didn't see the horn race as a fair race at all. They were extremely arrogant. You! I want to see how you will kill someone from the ruler's family. As he shouted, Luo Changtian opened up his divine domain again. He also took out a defensive magic robe of inferior quality and put it on. The long whip that was activated by Luo Changtian turned from its original white color to a blood-red color. It looked a little evil. Even Night Sorrow felt a sense of danger. Not simple. This long whip is not simple. Night Sorrow immediately became alert. He felt that the offensive power of this 7-section whip was very likely comparable to the heavenly samsara halberd. You have a good eye. To tell you the truth, this is a divine weapon made from the Divine King's dragon bones and dragon tendons. Although it's not at the Divine King's level, its power is infinitely close. Luo Changtian's words carried a hint of arrogance. He roared crazily, 7 dragons god-slaying whip. Then, he whipped out 7 terrifying whip scars. These scars looked like rainbows at first glance, but the aura was extremely bloody. These dragon bones and dragon tendons seemed to be wailing, giving off an extremely cruel feeling. Extremely evil. It's not worth mentioning. I don't believe that your Divine King's materials can compare to ruler's materials. As the Merit High God, Knight Sorrow hated this kind of evil aura. Facing Luo Changtian's 7 dragons god-slaying whip, he used the forbidden reincarnation spear again. Previously, Knight Sorrow used 70% of his strength. This time, he went all out. He wanted to shatter the 7-section whip in Luo Changtian's hand. You're really confident. Seeing that Knight Sorrow chose to use the reincarnation heavenly halberd against his 7-section whip, Luo Changtian was shocked. Luo Changtian's face showed that he had never seen the world. Boom! The 7-section whip and the reincarnation heavenly halberd collided, instantly creating an earth-shattering sound. Although the 7-section whip didn't shatter after being hit by the reincarnation heavenly halberd, visible cracks could be seen on it. The reincarnation heavenly halberd that had been strengthened by the ruler's stone was simply too hard. Is this still a battle between high gods? The other people who were fighting unconsciously stopped and looked over when they heard this power. Seeing that Luo Changtian was at a disadvantage and that even his trump card, the 7 dragons god-slaying whip, had cracks on it, the people from the Luo Heaven Ruler's manor were so shocked that they couldn't close their mouths. This was because they knew that if Luo Changtian couldn't win with the 7 dragons god-slaying whip, today's matter would be difficult to resolve. Now, I'll give you all a chance. As long as you release all the captured members of the Horn race, I won't pursue your actions today. At this time, Knight Sorrow, who had already communicated with Jiao Kong, looked at Luo Changtian and said this. Although the two of them had just started fighting, he could see from Luo Changtian's shocked expression that the 7 dragons god-slaying whip was very likely his strongest move. If his strongest move was useless, then his other moves would be even more useless. Naive. You think you've got me, Luo Changtian, for sure. Luo Changtian sneered and took out a Divine King-level talisman. No matter how strong you are, can you be stronger than the Divine King? I have 10 of these talismans. If you don't want to be killed, then get lost immediately and don't hinder me from capturing the Horn race. Luo Changtian, I didn't want to kill you, but now you're asking for it. If you have the ability, then try using the talisman. Facing Luo Changtian's threat, Knight Sorrow scolded coldly. The Divine King-level talisman was too dangerous, and he couldn't help but want to kill. Chapter 2647. Ha ha ha. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I have a king-grade god talisman, and this ancient world is under my rule. What right do you have to challenge me? Luo Changtian said arrogantly. If Knight Sorrow had a king-grade god talisman, he might have some fear. However, he didn't. He didn't hide his arrogance at all. Use your king-grade god talisman if you dare. Knight Sorrow didn't take Luo Changtian's threat seriously. Although the king-grade god talisman was scary, he had a way to deal with it. As soon as he finished speaking, Yishan used the third move of the Green Rock's soul-rending roar to attack Luo Changtian's soul. You really dare to attack, you ignorant fool. Knight Sorrow's Green Rock's soul-splitting roar not only impacted Luo Changtian's soul, but the other 4 also felt like their souls were being torn apart. This enraged Luo Changtian. Originally, he thought that using the king-grade god talisman was very precious, and it was enough as a threat. However, Knight Sorrow didn't give him any face. Under such circumstances, Luo Changtian's face darkened as he roared, since you want to die, then go to hell. I don't believe you can withstand a blow from the Divine King. At the same time, he activated the King Grade God Talisman in his hand and prepared to throw it at Night Sorrow. Seeing Luo Changtian activate the King Grade God Talisman, Murong Kai Yi, Zhao Kong, Zhao Hui, and the others were all worried. They were afraid that Night Sorrow would be killed by the Divine King in one blow. The few high gods who came with Luo Changtian had cruel smiles on their faces. In their opinion, the King Grade God Talisman was something that high gods couldn't deal with. Dragon Locking Formation, Rise. Just as Luo Changtian was about to use the King Grade God Talisman, Night Sorrow used the Divine Origin Dragon Locking Formation and the Virtuous Dragon Locking Formation. The two types of energy formed the Dragon Locking Formation and locked Luo Changtian and the King Grade God Talisman in a small sealed space. It was obvious that Luo Changtian couldn't break the double Dragon Lock array with his own strength. He could use the King Grade God Talisman to destroy it, but the King Grade God Talisman was too powerful. It would definitely backfire on him. At that moment, Luo Changtian was stunned. He felt a strong sense of danger. This king-level divine talisman was originally his trump card, but at this moment, it had become a life-threatening talisman. What should we do? What should I do? Luo Changtian, who was in a complete panic, had already activated the King Grade Talisman. There was no way to stop him. Quick! Let's attack together and help senior brother Changtian break the formation. Seeing how awkward Luo Changtian was, the other four immediately wanted to help him break the formation. However, at this time, not only did Murong Kai Yi, Zhao Kong, and the others take action to stop them, even Night Sorrow joined the battle against them. With the addition of Night Sorrow, the situation quickly became one-sided. These four powerful high gods, who could even reach the top 3 of the divine ranking, were killed in a moment. At the same time, the King Grade God Talisman in the Dragon Lock Array completely exploded. Not only did it destroy the Virtuous Dragon Lock Array and the Divine Origin Dragon Lock Array, but it also severely injured Luo Changtian. Heaven's wrongs can be forgiven, but the wrongs you bring upon yourself are the hardest to bear. Looking at the dying Luo Changtian, Yishang coldly said with disdain. If Luo Changtian didn't want to use such underhanded methods and relied on his strength to fight, he would still have a chance. But now, this ending was completely self-inflicted. The King Grade God Talisman is not bad. Looks like we have something to rely on for this trip to the ancient world. After Night Sorrow restrained Luo Changtian, he didn't immediately kill him. This was because he knew that the ancient world was in the territory ruled by all heaven. If he wanted to leave in the future, Luo Changtian would be of great help. After putting Luo Changtian into the spatial artifact, Night Sorrow took a look and found that most of his important items were destroyed. Only the other 9 King Grade God Talismans were almost intact. He kept 5 of them, gave 2 to Murong Kai Yi, and gave 1 each to Zhao Kong and Zhao Hui. Then, he looked at Zhao Kong and said, "Patriarch Zhao Kong, I think your habitat has been exposed. Why don't you all enter my spatial artifact?" "Yes. For the safety of the entire clan, this is the best choice." Zhao Kong sighed and summoned all of his clansmen into Night Sorrow's spatial artifact. "Lord Sovereign left some things for us. I need to comprehend them before leaving," Night Sorrow explained. After getting Zhao Kong's approval, he immediately returned to the stone wall in the cave and started to comprehend the 3 stone carvings left behind by the Horned Sovereign. They were 3 types of lost skills. After a quick check, Night Sorrow found that these 3 lost skills belonged to the High God grade, Divine Monarch grade, and Divine King grade. The deity-level technique was called the Hand of Cleaving Heaven and Earth, which sounded a little old-fashioned. Night Sorrow used a month to completely comprehend it. After using it, Night Sorrow found that this lost skill was even stronger than the forbidden reincarnation spear he used with the reincarnation heavenly halberd. Why is this move stronger than the forbidden reincarnation spear? After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow didn't get an answer. He didn't think about it anymore and seriously studied the other 2 moves. Night Sorrow also didn't take long to completely comprehend the Divine Monarch grade and Divine King grade lost skills. However, with his current realm, he couldn't use them at all. The things left behind by the Sovereign are indeed different. After memorizing all 3 moves, Night Sorrow walked out of the cave with satisfaction. Seeing Night Sorrow appear, Murong Kai-e, who was guarding outside the cave, smiled and asked, "Seems like the harvest is not bad?" "Yes, it's not bad. I learned a very powerful lost skill." Night Sorrow told the truth. Then, he taught the hand of splitting heaven and earth to the Horn clan. This was the lost skill left behind by the Horn Sovereign. He couldn't keep it for himself. However, the move that Night Sorrow thought was easy to learn stumped everyone in the Horn clan. They studied it in the Clear Sky Pagoda for a long time but still couldn't learn it. "Come and try. See if you can learn it. This move is very powerful. If you can learn it, it will be very helpful for your trip to the ancient world." Night Sorrow passed the lost skill to Murong Kai-e after getting the consent of the Horn clan's patriarch Jiao Kong. However, Murong Kai-e, who had a good comprehension ability, couldn't learn it either. Murong Kai-e, who couldn't learn it, said doubtfully, "This move seems simple, but I can't understand some of its essence. Is there some kind of restriction in learning this move?" "This move is called Hand of Splitting Heaven and Earth. I think it can only be learned by the creator of splitting heaven and earth." Night Sorrow guessed. "Creator of splitting heaven and earth? What's that?" Murong Kai-e asked confusedly. "The first cultivator to ascend to the divine world from a world in the lower realms is called the creator of splitting heaven and earth. I was the first one to ascend from my world." Night Sorrow explained. He didn't hide this matter. There were many people who had ascended from the lower realms in the divine world. This wasn't a taboo. "It seems that your foundation is deep. It's related to the accumulation of the lower realms." When Murong Kai-e heard Yi Shang reveal her secret, a smile appeared on her face. "It's true. I have received the care of the surplus origin of my world." Night Sorrow nodded and continued, "Since we have entered the Golden Crow ancient world, why don't we go and look for opportunities?" "Good. I also have the same idea." Murong Kai-e agreed. Chapter 2648. To be honest, in recent years, the Horn race's range of activity in the ancient Golden Crow world is very small. Therefore, although we have spirit horns that can sense natural treasures, we don't know where the opportunities are, Jiao Kong explained. Jiao Kong explained, however, if you bring Jiao Ling, or with you, as long as you walk around the ancient Golden Crow world, you will be able to find opportunities. She is currently the one with the strongest perception in the Horn clan. As soon as Jiao Kong finished speaking, a skinny little girl appeared in front of Night Sorrow. This little girl was only 1.4 meters tall, but with the 2 horns on her head, she was about 1.6 meters tall. There was a hint of redness on her cheeks. This was not because she was shy, but because she was too timid. If we bring Cao Ling, or with us, we won't be able to hide the pair of horns on her head. I'm afraid she will be coveted. If we don't let her out, we won't be able to sense natural treasures. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow said, "How about this? As long as we meet people from the Golden Crow race, I will put Cao Ling, or into my spatial artifact. As for other high gods from the divine world, there is no need to do so." The Horn race supremacy had warned him not to have any conflicts with the Golden Crows here. As for the high gods from the divine world, although there were experts among them, Night Sorrow was not afraid. He had the ability to fight against those of the same level. Murong Tsai looked at Cao Ling, and asked, "Is the Horn race really so magical?" Of course. The reason why the Horn race was able to produce a supremacy was because of our powerful ability to find treasures. Jiao Kong said proudly. Actually, the Horn race had not lost their ability to find treasures. It was just that they no longer had the ability to compete for natural treasures, so they were declining. At this time, Jiao Hui said, "Ling, why don't you greet him? This is Night Sorrow Merit God, the benefactor who saved our race. Night Sorrow Merit God, hello. I am Cao Ling, and I will help you find all natural treasures in the future. Hearing this, Cao Linger greeted him. Just call me Big Brother Night Sorrow. Calling me Merit God is too awkward. Night Sorrow smiled and said. Then, he took Cao Linger with him and walked with Murong Kai in the Golden Crow ancient world. During the journey, Night Sorrow kept his divine sense activated in case he encountered other people. They flew over the desolate mountain range for about 3 days. Cao Linger suddenly said, Big Brother Night Sorrow, there seems to be something at the bottom of this mountain. Below the mountain? Which direction? Night Sorrow asked. He had already opened the clam dragon's eye and used the power of his soul, but he could not find anything. It's right below here, about 100,000 kilometers away. I don't know exactly what it is. Cao Linger said softly with a hint of determination in her voice. 100,000 kilometers is not too deep. Let's try to break open this mountain. Night Sorrow did not hesitate. He took out the Samsara halberd and cut open the mountain below. Under his control, the momentum was not too big. When they dug to a depth of 50,000 kilometers, not only did Night Sorrow feel that there was something below, but even Murong Kai also found some clues. Murong Kai said with a smile, Sister Linger's perception is really strong. There really is a natural treasure. My perception is clearer. There seems to be a king-level divine vein below, the kind that can provide for the divine king's cultivation. Cao Linger said again. This time, her tone was more determined. King-level divine vein. If it's a king-level divine vein, it can at least provide for your cultivation until the divine monarch realm. Murong Kai analyzed for Night Sorrow. Since it was Cao Linger who found it, she naturally would not ask for it. Maybe, but my cultivation is mainly based on the power of virtue. Divine veins can only play a supporting role. After we find it, we will share it with everyone here. If it was really a king-level divine vein, it could be stored in the Clear Sky Pagoda to provide for the cultivation of the entire Horn race. Night Sorrow did not mean to be stingy about this. No need, no need. Night Sorrow Merit God, you are the benefactor who saved our race. Any natural treasure Linger finds will belong to you alone. Jiao Kong, the patriarch of the Horn race, heard Night Sorrow's words from his spatial artifact and immediately declined. I don't lack cultivation resources. Just take it. Night Sorrow said without hesitation, in the future, you will follow me to the eternal supreme world. There are dangers everywhere. If you are too weak, you will only be a burden and will also disgrace the Horn race. I believe that this is not what you want to see. So before I become the Divine King, you must do your best to cultivate. Even if there are 1 or 2 Divine King, it will be fine. Also, Patriarch of the Horn race, you can call me Brother Night Sorrow. Don't call me anything else. Night Sorrow felt very awkward being called Merit God. He could not bear to hear it. Brother Night Sorrow. Your words really make us feel ashamed. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Patriarch of the Horn race sighed, Ancestor is an invincible sovereign. Our appearance in the eternal supreme world is indeed a disgrace to him. Horn race, listen up. I now announce that when Brother Night Sorrow goes to the eternal supreme world, all those who have not cultivated to the divine monarch realm will stay in the divine world. How can we cultivate to the divine monarch realm? Most of the people of the Horn race had no interest or confidence in cultivation. In their opinion, they could never become a divine monarch or a divine king. Nothing is impossible. I am only a middle-high god now. I am still very far away from the divine king. You have time to become a divine monarch realm, and I will spare no effort to provide you with cultivation resources. Night Sorrow promised confidently. Now that he had Cao Ling by his side, he was very confident in obtaining resources. We are here. It is indeed a king-grade divine range. While Night Sorrow was communicating with the Horn race, Murong Tsai, who had been in charge of digging, suddenly said. Everyone looked over and saw a sparkling and translucent divine vein. It was like a real dragon, crawling on the ground. The divine spiritual chi was extremely dense. Just a whiff of it would make one feel refreshed, not to mention cultivating nearby. Good stuff. It is indeed good stuff. With it, you don't have to worry about cultivation resources for the horn race for the time being. Such a big king-grade divine range can help you cultivate a divine king. The purity of this king-grade divine range was above Cao Ling's estimation. Feeling the majestic divine spiritual chi, Night Sorrow could not help but exclaim that Cao Ling was indeed extraordinary. The special ability of the horn race was indeed worthy of its reputation. Such a big king-grade divine range. Can your spatial device store it? Murong-sai stared at the king-grade divine range in front of her with a dumbfounded expression and asked. You can't store it. Why don't you give this king-grade divine range to me, Xianyuan Yufeng? At this moment, before Yi Shang could open his mouth to reply, a voice laced with mockery slowly spoke. Chapter 2649. No one knew where Xianyuan Yufeng came from. He had been ranked second on the god list for many years. Although Yunzhe, who was ranked first, was weaker every time he challenged him, his strength could not be underestimated. If not for accumulating his foundation, he could enter the divine sovereign realm at any time. Xianyuan Yufeng? How do you want us to give this divine vein to you? Night Sorrow, who could take it, was not in a hurry to make a move. He wanted to see what Xianyuan Yufeng had to say. Compared to everyone present, Night Sorrow was the calmest in front of this king-grade divine vein. Let's make a fair deal. I will give you 1,000,000 divine crystals and you will give me this divine vein. Xianyuan Yufeng's eyebrows carried a trace of coldness, but he still smiled as he spoke to Yi Shang. His tone was slightly cold. What? 1,000,000 divine crystals? Even if you have 100 times more, it is not enough to exchange for this king-grade divine vein. Do you think we have not seen the world? Hearing Xianyuan Yufeng's words, before Yi Shang could speak, Murong-sai took the initiative to question him. Haha. If I am not wrong, you are Night Sorrow and Murong-sai, right? Before everyone entered the ancient Golden Crow realm, the god list had been updated. Xianyuan Yufeng had seen Night Sorrow on it. He had paid attention to Murong-sai before. He was a lecherous person and knew a lot about the female cultivators on the god list. It is us. So what? Murong-sai felt Xianyuan Yufeng's invasive gaze and replied coldly. Let me put it this way. Other than Yunzhe, who is stronger than me on the god list, the others are not worth mentioning. You have no idea how far Yunzhe and I have walked on this path. Although we are not as good as some of the hidden geniuses of the ruler's manor, you two are obviously not from the ruler's manor. Xianyuan Yufeng said with a fake smile. I've realized that you're not very logical when you speak. Why don't you just say that if we don't give you the divine vein, you will kill us? Night Sorrow, who was watching Xianyuan Yufeng, mocked. Yes, that is the reason. Can you get lost now? I am in a good mood after obtaining this divine vein. I'll let you off for now. The next time we meet, I won't be so courteous. Xianyuan Yufeng didn't look at Night Sorrow, but stared at Murong-sai and said. Disgusting. Being stared at by Xianyuan Yufeng like that, Murong-kai felt like a piece of meat being stared at by a fly. Looks like keeping you alive is a disaster for the god realm. Originally, I thought that you were just greedy for the king-grade divine range. You don't deserve to die. Hearing Xianyuan Yufeng's words, Night Sorrow immediately had a murderous intent. He didn't want to leave any hidden dangers for Murong-kai. You are just a middle-high deity. Defeating Wu Li back then was already a great stroke of luck. You dare to be so impudent in front of me, Xianyuan Yufeng. You really don't know the difference between life and death. Xianyuan Yufeng did not put Night Sorrow in his eyes at all. He sneered, your trapping formation might be useful to others, but I, Xianyuan Yufeng, am not afraid at all. Without that, you're nothing. Is that so? Since you are so confident, then make your move. Knight Sorrow knew that Xianyuan Yufeng had already investigated him. However, he now had a new trump card and was confident that he would win. I didn't want to make a move. I gave you a way out because I didn't want to alarm others. Now that you are courting death, I will quickly kill you in seconds. Killing intent immediately emerged from Xianyuan Yufeng's body. Murong Kai Yi's complexion changed as soon as he released his god domain. This kind of aura belonged to a monarch god. It was not something that an ordinary high deity could possess. Now you understand the difference in strength between us, right? Xianyuan Yufeng was not a monarch god but had already mastered some of the abilities of a monarch god. This was the source of his confidence. He didn't believe that a middle-high deity like Knight Sorrow could fight against him. I can see that there is a certain gap between you and me. Knight Sorrow smiled and transmitted his voice to Murong Kai Yi. Enter my spatial tool, I will deal with him myself. This, all right. You be careful. Murong Kai Yi knew that she was completely useless in front of Xianyuan Yufeng. She obediently entered the Haotian pagoda. At the same time, Knight Sorrow also took Cao Ling into his pagoda. Haha. I have been paying attention to Murong Kai Yi. If I am not wrong, the one who was taken into your spatial tool was a member of the Horn clan, right? She was the one who discovered this king-level divine vein. Xianyuan Yufeng, who had noticed Cao Ling, said excitedly, Knight Sorrow, I will give you a chance. Give this Horn clan girl to me. I will not take the king-level divine vein. Don't dream. You should think about what you should think before your divine soul is destroyed. There is not much time left for you. At this time, Knight Sorrow's body also bloomed with a strong fighting intent. Xianyuan Yufeng not only coveted Murong Kai Yi's beauty, but also discovered the existence of Cao Ling. He was not prepared to let her live. Bastard. I give you face, but you don't want it. You can't blame me for being ruthless. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Xianyuan Yufeng's face became completely gloomy. He took out a long sword made of several copper coins from his waist and used a secret technique. Money asks the heavens. When Xianyuan Yufeng used this secret technique, countless copper coins immediately rushed towards Knight Sorrow from all directions. These copper coins were all made of divine origin energy. Almost every one of them was close to the attack of a monarch god. The momentum was extremely vast. It contains a formation. It has some skill. Facing Xianyuan Yufeng's attack, Knight Sorrow initially thought that it was unwise for the other party to use a group attack. But soon, he discovered that although Xianyuan Yufeng's move was a secret technique on the surface, it contained a formation. If not for the sea serpent's eye, Knight Sorrow might not have been able to see the clues. If he was not careful, he would be trapped in the formation. Reincarnation strike, break for me. The essence of Xianyuan Yufeng's attack was on the formation. The attack power was not very strong. Knight Sorrow used the reincarnation strike and disrupted the copper coins in the formation, easily breaking the move. I didn't expect you to have some ability to see through my money, asks the heaven's great formation. Xianyuan Yufeng was slightly surprised that the formation was broken. However, he did not take it seriously. He had absolute confidence in his own strength. He then used his second secret technique, Qian Kuan Phaseless Sword. This move was different from the money asks the heaven's great formation. It was a completely open attack. Forbidden Reincarnation Spear. Facing Xianyuan Yufeng's move, Knight Sorrow used the Reincarnation Heavenly Halberd to use the strongest spear art he currently knew. Xianyuan Yufeng wanted to end the battle quickly and used his most powerful attack. Knight Sorrow, who had similar thoughts, also chose to do the same. Chapter 2650. Boom! The two of them clashed, and both of them retreated a certain distance. However, Knight Sorrow had the upper hand in this large-scale attack. His ultimate technique was about the same as his opponent's. The Samsara halberd that had absorbed the essence of the ruler's stone was obviously of a higher grade than Xianyuan Yufeng's copper coin sword. The sharp tip of the spear directly shattered one of the copper coins on the sword. Bastard! My copper coin sword! You deserve to die. Xianyuan Yufeng's copper coin sword relied on the support of the 18 copper coins to unleash its great power. Now that one of the coins had been shattered just as the battle began, his heart was bleeding. Starry secret technique. Xianyuan Yufeng, who was completely enraged, immediately used a secret technique to raise his strength to the peak. Then, he completely disrupted the copper coin sword and controlled the 17 copper coins to attack Night Sorrow. Looks like I overestimated you. Your strength is no match for Luo Changtian. Facing Xianyuan Yufeng's attack, Night Sorrow used the 33 Heaven secret technique and used the third move of the Green Rock soul-splitting roar. While shaking Xianyuan Yufeng's soul, his left hand controlled the Samsara halberd to unleash the forbidden reincarnation spear. His right hand used the splitting heaven and earth technique he learned from the Horn Race's sovereign. He had no intention of defending. Originally, when he saw Night Sorrow not defending against his 17 copper coins, Xianyuan Yufeng had a look of disdain. He felt that Night Sorrow was too arrogant. However, when Night Sorrow attacked, especially when he used the splitting heaven and earth technique, Xianyuan Yufeng's expression completely changed. At this moment, he felt as if he was being attacked by the power of the origin. It was a feeling that was difficult to resist. It was as if he was facing the entire realm of the gods. How is this possible? How can there be such a powerful technique? Xianyuan Yufeng almost didn't dare to believe his own knowledge. He couldn't think of a way to defend against this technique. He didn't even use the trump card he kept to fight against the Divine Essence Dragon Lock formation. So the splitting heaven and earth technique has such a special suppressive effect on cultivators. When Night Sorrow executed the hand of splitting heaven and earth, he felt that it was slightly stronger than the taboo reincarnation spear. However, when Xianyuan Yufeng executed it, he immediately felt that it was different. After understanding the true might of the hand of creation, Night Sorrow rejoiced. He felt even more confident about this trip to the ancient Golden Crow realm. At the same time, Xianyuan Yufeng, who was helpless against the splitting heaven and earth palm, had his defenses completely shattered. The heavenly Samsara halberd, which had unleashed the forbidden reincarnation spear, pierced Xianyuan Yufeng's dantian. I didn't expect you to be so strong. Even Yunzhe is no match for you. Xianyuan Yufeng, whose dantian had been pierced, looked completely disheartened. You're just an intermediate high god. If you advance to upper high god, you'll probably become the #1 high god in the divine realm. God realm. Hearing this word, Night Sorrow, who originally wanted to destroy Xianyuan Yufeng's soul, suddenly stopped. He said, originally, I wanted to destroy your divine soul, but if you promise to fight for the God realm in the future, I will leave you a way out and heal your dantian. Fight for the God realm? Do you want me to enter the ethereal mountain or the dark forest? Xianyuan Yufeng, who was bleeding from the corner of his mouth, looked as if he had nothing left to live for. What you have to face is far more terrifying than the extraterrestrial demons. Rather than dying immediately, I think you might be able to contribute to the God realm. Yi Shang didn't mention anything about the eternal supreme world, but he planned to bring Luo Changtian and Xianyuan Yufeng there in the future. He would let them fight and unleash their final potential. This way, they could contribute to the God realm. It was better than their souls being destroyed. Hee hee. What could be more terrifying than having one's divine soul destroyed? Xianyuan Yufeng said with a bitter smile. Then, he said, I can fight for the God realm, but for you alone, that's impossible. We, the Xianyuan clan, have our own dignity. I said that I'm not fighting for myself. I'm fighting for the entire God realm. Night Sorrow explained. Then, he said, and I'm leaving the God realm to fight in another realm. Does the legendary eternal supreme world really exist? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Xianyuan Yufeng's body shook. What? You've heard of the eternal supreme world? Knight Sorrow looked at Xianyuan Yufeng in confusion. He did not expect him to say this name. Legend has it that the first patriarch of the Xianyuan clan not only achieved the position of sovereign, but also the position of supreme. In the end, he left the God realm and entered the eternal supreme world to fight. This matter has been passed down in the Xianyuan clan, but it has always been regarded as a legend. Xianyuan Yufeng explained. Then, he continued, now that you mention this matter, I assume you have some understanding of the eternal supreme world. I've already met two supreme beings. When I become the divine king, I will go to the eternal supreme world to fight for the God realm. Now, the situation there is very serious. The God realm needs more people to stand up. Although Xianyuan Yufeng's character was not good, his ancestor had a supreme being. Knight Sorrow's tone softened a lot. So the eternal supreme world really exists. What my ancestor said is true. Xianyuan Yufeng's body trembled slightly. He was digesting Knight Sorrow's words. After a while, Xianyuan Yufeng bit his lip and said, since two supreme beings have found you, it proves that you are the key to the future of the God realm. I, Xianyuan Yufeng, am willing to follow you. I don't need you to follow me. If you have the heart, do your best to improve your strength. When I become the divine king, I hope you can also become the divine king. If you are only a divine monarch, going to the eternal supreme world may be a disgrace to the wisdom of our ancestors. Knight Sorrow looked at Xianyuan Yufeng. He cultivated the power of merit and could determine whether the other party was telling the truth or not. As long as my Dantian recovers, I will immediately break through to the divine monarch realm. I must represent all of my clansmen and pay respects to our ancestors. Xianyuan Yufeng's brows showed a trace of determination. The eternal supreme world had completely aroused his fighting spirit. Good. After leaving the ancient Golden Crow world, I will take you to treat your Dantian's injuries. Now, enter my spatial artifact. Yi Shang said to Xianyuan Yufeng and then put him into his spatial Dharma artifact. Xianyuan Yufeng, who entered the spatial artifact, was completely stunned when he saw the thousands of clans and tribes. He knew that if the people of the God realm knew about this, Knight Sorrow would be hunted down endlessly. The ancestor of the Horn clan is the same as your ancestor. They are both supreme beings and are currently fighting in the eternal supreme world. Protecting the Horn clan is something I promised the Horn clan's supremacy. Knight Sorrow transmitted his voice to Xianyuan Yufeng and then said to the others in the spatial artifact, Xianyuan Yufeng's ancestor is very likely the same as the Horn clan's supremacy and is fighting in the eternal supreme world. Let's turn hostility into friendship and forget the unhappiness just now. So you are also a descendant of the supremacy. I hope you can change some of your bad habits in the future and not disgrace the supremacy ancestors. The patriarch, Zhao Kong, looked at Xianyuan Yufeng and said earnestly. He had seen Xianyuan Yufeng's performance in the spatial artifact just now. Yes. I, Xianyuan Yufeng, will definitely change my ways in the future. Xianyuan Yufeng replied with an awkward expression. These things are all in the past. Don't mention them in the future. I hope you remember what you said today. Knight Sorrow said to Xianyuan Yufeng and then used the Clear Sky Pagoda to put the entire King-grade Divine Range into it. Knight Sorrow, who had put the King-grade Divine Range into the pagoda, did not have time to be happy when he saw a bright golden underground palace appear under the Divine Range. Chapter 2651. Brother Knight Sorrow, can you let me go out and sense it? Cao Ling, who had been taken into the spatial magical tool, saw the dazzling underground palace appear and immediately said, Okay. Come out. Knight Sorrow responded and let the little girl out. After being let out, Cao Ling, sensed the underground palace from a close distance and judged, there seems to be a lot of weapons in this underground palace, countless weapons. In addition, there are some medicine gardens where spiritual herbs are planted. Weapons? Can you sense what grade of weapons they are? Cao Ling, didn't say divine weapons but weapons, which made Knight Sorrow a little curious. They don't seem to have the same aura as divine weapons, but they are very powerful. Some of them are at the monarch level and some are at the divine king level. Cao Ling explained and continued, this underground palace doesn't seem to be something from the divine world. Its aura is somewhat different. So it's like this. Knight Sorrow nodded and looked at Murong Kai. How about it? Shall we go in and check it out? Since we have encountered it, it's an opportunity. If we don't go in, then the trip to the Golden Crow ancient world will be too boring. Murong Kai's face revealed a trace of a smile. In fact, she had come here to look for opportunities. Now that she didn't get anything, how could she be satisfied? Okay. Since you want to go, we will go in now. However, you must pay attention to your safety. After Yi Shang said that, he took Murong Kai and Zhao Ling and rushed towards the underground palace to find a way to enter. However, before the three of them approached, the underground palace slowly rose from below and gradually floated in the air. Its golden appearance was as dazzling as the sun. This underground palace is floating in the air, so it will definitely attract other people's attention. Let's try to be one step faster. Knight Sorrow explained and then took Murong Kai and Cao Linger to the sky. When they reached the height of the underground palace, they saw a platform and 3 entrances. Linger, can you sense what's inside each entrance? Knight Sorrow, who was observing the 3 entrances, looked at Cao Ling, who had 2 horns on her head and asked. That's strange. I can still sense it from far away, but I can't sense it here. Cao Linger explained and continued, I can only sense a very powerful force inside, but I can't sense any heavenly materials or earthly treasures. What's going on? Are we still going in? Cao Linger's words made Murong Kai somewhat nervous. Enter. Opportunities are fleeting. If we find that something is wrong after we enter, we can just leave immediately. Knight Sorrow said, the 2 of you enter my spatial artifact first. I'll let you out after you enter. We have to be on guard against unknown dangers. All right. Linger, let's enter the Clear Sky Pagoda. Murong Kai looked at the somewhat confused Cao Linger and entered the Clear Sky Pagoda side by side with her. As soon as they entered the Clear Sky Pagoda, Murong Kai said in surprise, after collecting the king-level divine veins, the Clear Sky Pagoda is already very suitable for cultivation. The divine spirit aura inside the Clear Sky Pagoda was very rich. Moreover, it could accelerate and decelerate time by 100 times. Cultivating here would yield twice the result with half the effort. It was even better than the heritage of some big sections. Murong Kai couldn't help but sigh with emotion. In the future, you can enter to cultivate at any time. Let's enter the underground palace to see the situation first. After collecting the king-level divine veins, Knight Sorrow hadn't entered the Clear Sky Pagoda to check. However, according to Murong Kai's words, he judged that the Clear Sky Pagoda wasn't simple. There were 3 entrances in front of them. Knight Sorrow opened the sea serpent's eye to observe for a while. He found that each entrance contained vitality and death aura. It should be an opportunity and danger coexisting. After thinking for a while, Knight Sorrow entered the entrance closest to him. He thought that letting nature take its course might be the best choice. At the moment when Knight Sorrow was about to enter, he heard the sound of something breaking through the air from afar. It turned out that 2 groups of people had arrived by flying magic tools. Without paying attention to them, Knight Sorrow took the lead and walked into the entrance of the underground palace. After passing through a layer of membrane-like restriction, he found that he had arrived at a whole new world. The aura here was completely different from that of the Golden Crow ancient world. The divine spirit aura here was very thin. It was filled with another kind of aura that was almost the same. Is this the aura of a different world? Murong Kai, who hurriedly walked out of the Clear Sky Pagoda, immediately muttered doubtfully. Cao Linger said, there should be heavenly treasures here. However, it seems to be different from the things in our God world. It is indeed a little different. I don't know if there are creatures from a different world inside. While speaking, Knight Sorrow raised his head and used the sea serpent's eye to look into the distance. He found that the area in front of him was a dark brown land. The ground looked like it had been washed by the river countless times. However, there was not a single drop of water. It gave people a feeling of barrenness. As for creatures, he had not seen them yet. This place looks so barren. Does it really contain any heavenly treasures? Murong Kai-e, who was also looking into the distance, asked doubtfully. She felt that this world gave people a feeling of desolation. It does look very barren. However, if we continue to go deeper, it should contain life. I can sense the aura of life. Cao Linger said with certainty. Then, she looked at Night Sorrow and said, Brother Night Sorrow, if we continue to go deeper, there seems to be some strange beasts with very ferocious auras. Can you sense their strength? Night Sorrow asked. Linger has tried her best, but I can't tell. Cao Linger shook her head. However, Linger can still sense an unusual herb garden. At this time, Night Sorrow, who looked back, found that the door he had entered had disappeared. He immediately confirmed one thing: there was probably no way out in this world. Night Sorrow, who did not want to cause panic, continued to say, in that case, let's continue. In a while, if there is danger, Linger, you enter the Clear Sky Pagoda to hide. In addition, Kai-e, if we find good things again, you have the priority to take them. How can I accept this? I can't do anything. Murong Kai-e immediately retorted. There is nothing to be embarrassed about. I have already obtained a king-level divine vein. Such a harvest would make even the divine king and the sovereign very happy. I am naturally satisfied. Night Sorrow said and walked in front. The aura here is very strange. It should not belong to the divine world. You follow behind me and pay attention to your own safety. Okay. I will pay attention. Walking here, Murong Kai-e felt a little discouraged. If not for Night Sorrow, she would not have been able to move even an inch. Night Sorrow, who was walking in front, kept moving forward on the hard ground. After flying for about 200,000 li, he used the power of his god's soul to sense a group of creatures from a different world. They had snake bodies and tridents in their hands. Chapter 2652. The strongest Divine Monarch Realm monster with a human head and a snake body was only at the Divine Monarch Realm, but its aura was very powerful. It was almost as powerful as the half-step Divine King. The High God Realm monsters with human heads and snake bodies were all at the Divine Monarch Realm. Obviously, they were a group of monsters with strength greater than their level. Behind them was an altar that towered into the clouds. On the altar, there were 3 or 4 kinds of spiritual fruits and a pitch-black trident that emitted a cold light. The trident's aura and attribute were not the same as divine weapons, but its power was definitely not inferior to a king divine weapon. The aura of the trident is a bit strange, and its attribute is also very special. It would be great if we could get it. Maybe the Samsara halberd can advance to the king divine weapon. Night Sorrow observed the trident with the sea serpent eye. He did not want to alert the enemy, so he did not dare to use his divine soul power. As for the monsters with human heads and snake bodies, they were very powerful, but they seemed to be in a half-dormant state and were not active. They did not notice Night Sorrow and the others. The trident seems to contain some Dominator realm materials. Its power is not comparable to an ordinary king divine weapon. Cao Ling, who was looking at the distance, was obviously excited to find a rare treasure. She transmitted her voice to Night Sorrow and Murong Tsai. She was too close to the group of monsters with human heads and snake bodies, so she did not dare to speak again. The trident in front of us is indeed very good, but these monsters are not to be trifled with. It seems that our strength is not enough. Murong Tsai said worriedly. There was not much confidence between her eyebrows. We have no way out. We can only choose to fight. Seeing Murong Tsai's state, Night Sorrow reminded her, there is no exit behind us. We can only fight all the way. But we are obviously no match for the monsters in front of us. If we act rashly, we will definitely die. Murong-sai said worriedly. With our current strength, we are indeed unable to shake this group of monsters with human heads and snake bodies. But I have a way to improve my strength. Wait for me. Night Sorrow entered the spatial device and killed the Divine King level extraterrestrial devil Black Star in the bottle. The Black Star instantly turned into a large amount of power of merit and surged toward Night Sorrow's body. The Divine King's power of virtue was very rich. It took Night Sorrow 3 days and 3 nights to fully absorb all of it in his space artifact. His power of virtue had reached the peak of the mid-level superior god realm. If I absorb a bit more, my karmic energy will break through to the high god level. As a result, his cultivation base also rose to the high god level. At that time, I have absolute confidence that I can instantly kill the leading human-headed snake monster. Night Sorrow, who had completely digested the merit power he had absorbed, looked at Murong-sai and the people of the Horn clan. Brother Night Sorrow, you said there's no way out. Is that true? Clan Chief Jiao Kong asked. Yes. When I first entered this world, I already noticed it. I didn't want to cause panic, so I didn't say anything. Right now, we only have one path, and that is to defeat the group of human-headed snake-bodied monsters in front of us. Let's see if we can find a way out. Night Sorrow explained and continued, I now need some karmic energy. I'm preparing to sneak attack those human-headed snake-bodied monsters alone. I reckon that if I kill some of them, it will be converted into karmic energy. As long as I advance to the high god level, the crisis in front of us will be easily resolved. Brother Night Sorrow, it's too dangerous for you to sneak attack alone. Although our Horn clan isn't strong, we can definitely fight. Jiao Kong immediately stood up to oppose Night Sorrow when he heard that he wanted to sneak attack the group of human-headed snake-bodied monsters alone. However, there were only a few monarchs in the Horn clan, and they wouldn't be of much help to the battle. Therefore, he wasn't very confident. After all, although most of these human-headed snake-bodied monsters were at the monarch level, their aura was very terrifying. It's fine. Sneak attacks don't necessarily have to be done with more people. Night Sorrow said and brought everyone to a flat ground far away from the human-headed snake-bodied monsters to set up a concealment array. After letting everyone hide here, Night Sorrow took the Samsara halberd and the clear sky pagoda and set up a trap array 20,000 miles away from the group of human-headed snake-bodied monsters. He was prepared to lure these monsters into the array and destroy them one by one. First, he would break through to the high god level with his karmic energy. I wonder if these monsters guarding the altar will be lured out by me. Night Sorrow looked into the distance and waved to Murong-sai and the Horn clan. Then, he moved toward the group of human-headed snake-bodied monsters. With his current strength, killing a few monarchs in an instant was no problem at all. The difficult part was the monarch-level monster. It gave people a very dangerous feeling. Night Sorrow, you must be careful. If Night Sorrow had absolute confidence, he wouldn't let her and the Horn clan out of the clear sky pagoda. Murong-sai, who was very worried, reminded him the moment he moved. It's fine. I'll be careful. These human-headed snake-bodied monsters are blocking the only way. We must kill them. Night Sorrow said and gradually approached the group of monsters. Chapter 2653. It's dangerous. The Yishang brothers were in a perilous situation. But there's nothing we can do. What should we do? Jiao Kong, the chief of the Horn clan, said worriedly after seeing Night Sorrow's dangerous situation. The strength of the monarch god-level human-headed snake-bodied monster was definitely at the level of a half-step divine king. It was much stronger than an ordinary half-step divine king in the divine realm. Murong-sai said with a pale face, we're both high gods, but I'm too weak to help Night Sorrow. In fact, Murong-sai was worried but her eyes were shining. She felt that among the high gods in the divine realm, besides Night Sorrow, no one else could face so many powerful human-headed snake-bodied monsters. Green Rock Soul-Splitting Roar, Third Roar Break Reincarnation. Night Sorrow didn't feel much pressure when the human-headed snake-bodied monsters had yet to react. When the Monarch God-level human-headed snake-bodied monster came, he felt that the other high God-level human-headed snake-bodied monsters were like a tide, attacking wave after wave. It was very difficult to deal with. He had no choice but to use the Divine Soul attack. But after attacking, he found that these monsters didn't have Divine Seas at all. The Green Rock Soul-Splitting Roar had no effect on them. Forget it. I'll kill my way out. If I don't succeed, I'll die trying. Facing so many human-headed snake-bodied monsters, Night Sorrow, who was already injured, became ruthless. While using the Void Extreme Shadow Body to restrain the Monarch God-level human-headed snake-bodied monsters, he attacked the other high God-level monsters and killed a dozen of them quickly. Awoo! At this moment, the human-headed snake-bodied monsters were being killed by Night Sorrow. The leading Monarch God-level human-headed snake-bodied monster was completely enraged. Its whole body turned golden. It was obviously going berserk. Then, the other high God-level human-headed snake-bodied monsters also turned golden. Their auras increased by 10 times in an instant. Even though Night Sorrow's strength was extraordinary, he was still completely suppressed when fighting against them in this state. If it weren't for the fact that his evolved Void Extreme Shadow Body was extremely powerful, he might even be in danger of dying. Not good. Brother Night Sorrow is in danger. Let's charge. None of the warriors of the Horn People are cowards. Seeing that these monsters had become so much stronger, Jiao Kong immediately ordered the Horn People to attack. Under his command, all the High God Realm clansmen of the Horn Clan charged out of the concealment formation. The 2,000 or so people who rushed out of the concealment array immediately attracted the attention of the snake monsters. The leading human-headed snake monster turned its head to observe them. After confirming that these people's auras were not very strong, it used very strange language to give out orders. The human-headed snake-bodied group immediately split into about 70 groups and charged towards the group of 2,000 people. The only ones left to deal with Night Sorrow were the Divine Lord-level human-headed snake-bodied monsters and the 20 or so high God-level human-headed snake-bodied monsters. However, Night Sorrow, who had activated the Sea Serpent's Eye and used Void Extreme Shadow Body, was able to deal with them with ease. He continued to slay one high deity after another. If this continued, Night Sorrow would soon be able to upgrade his power of virtue to the High God Realm. However, at this time, he noticed that the Horn People who were fighting with the other High God Realm human-headed snake monsters were completely slaughtered. Their combat strength was too weak. Although there were many of them could not even break through the defense of the human-headed snake monsters. Although Muronsai's strength was not bad, she could only protect a few people around her. The scene was very bloody and tragic. No. If this continues, there will not be many people left in the Horn People. How can I explain this to the Horn People then? Seeing the situation in front of him, Night Sorrow was anxious in his heart. At this time, he was so angry that he slapped his forehead and secretly scolded himself for being too stupid. At this moment of crisis, Night Sorrow remembered that he had 9 Divine King Grade God talismans on him. He had snatched them from the battle, so he did not immediately think of them. Let you try the power of the Divine King Grade God talismans. Although the 9 Divine King Grade God talismans in his hand were somewhat damaged under the bombardment of another God talisman, at least 80% of their power was left. Night Sorrow successfully activated one of the Divine King Grade God talismans in his hand and smashed it towards the High God Realm human-headed snake monster. Roar! The human-headed snake monster that discovered that Night Sorrow had activated the Divine King Grade God talisman was immediately frightened by the aura of the Divine King Grade God talisman and thus escaped. However, the other High God Realm human-headed snake monsters were not fast enough and could not escape in time. More than 20 of them were killed at once. Night Sorrow was completely freed and rushed towards the Horn People tribe's battle position. At this time, although it had only been 10 breaths of time since the Horn People tribe joined the battle, dozens of Horn People warriors had been seriously injured, and a few were even on the verge of death. In front of these human-headed snake monsters, they were simply unable to withstand a single blow. All of you, enter my spatial artifact. I have the Divine King Grade God talismans, so I can easily deal with them. Seeing that the Horn People tribe had suffered a heavy blow, Night Sorrow quickly used the Clear Sky Pagoda to summon them in. Because Night Sorrow's reaction was fast enough, no one from the Horn People tribe had fallen so far. Tsai, you also come in. To avoid being accidentally injured by the Divine King Grade God talisman. After summoning Muron Tsai, Night Sorrow immediately activated the second Divine King Grade God talisman. The High God Realm human-headed snake monster that had fled far away noticed that the second Divine King Grade God talisman had been activated and immediately shouted to remind the other human-headed snake monsters. With its reminder, the human-headed snake monsters began to flee in all directions. Night Sorrow activated this divine talisman, so he only killed a dozen or so human-headed snake monsters. However, after the power of virtue entered his body, Night Sorrow's body suddenly shook. He clearly felt that the power of virtue had successfully advanced to the High God Realm. Very good. My power of virtue has advanced to the High God Realm, and I don't feel any discomfort. It seems that as long as I use the divine veins to cultivate the immortal divine art of the myriad Tao treasured tome in the Clear Sky Pagoda, I should be able to quickly advance to the High God Realm in other aspects. Night Sorrow, who had improved his strength, was in a good mood. Now that he had obtained some origin essence gold from the Horn People sovereign, his strength was about to enter the High God Realm. As long as he left this place, he could challenge Ling Yun and rescue Aunt Fei. The human-headed snake monsters that were shocked by the Divine King Grade God talisman all fled far away, not giving Night Sorrow a chance to continue attacking. As they fled, Night Sorrow immediately became the master of the surroundings. He directly flew to the location of the tall sacrificial altar. He stretched out his hand to take the pitch-black trident and let the Samsara Heavenly Halberd absorb it. After about a month's time, the Samsara Heavenly Halberd had completely absorbed the trident, and its grade had officially advanced to the king grade. However, because they were in the small world of the outsiders, the lightning tribulation of the king grade divine artifact did not come. After that, Night Sorrow refined a vermilion fruit on the sacrificial altar into an elixir and turned it into water to treat the Horn People's injuries. After treating them, Night Sorrow once again kept everyone in the Clear Sky Pagoda. He stepped onto a teleportation formation on the sacrificial altar and activated it with divine crystals. After the teleportation ended, Yishang appeared in a dazzling hall. At this moment, there were already a few groups of people in this hall. When they saw Night Sorrow appear, they immediately revealed vigilant gazes. Chapter 2654. The aura of the origin essence was very dense and Night Sorrow could sense it very clearly. However, even with the sea serpent eye and the power of his divine soul, he could not determine the location of the origin essence. When one of them saw Night Sorrow appear, he looked at him vigilantly and said coldly, "Everyone here is a top high god of the god realm. Who are you and what is your name?" Night Sorrow. Who are you? Night Sorrow looked up at this person and found that this person was a male cultivator in white clothes. He had an innate sense of superiority between his eyebrows. Needless to say, he must be from a large family or the ruler's mansion. Night Sorrow, ranked 3rd on the high god list. You are not qualified to ask for my name. If you know what's good for you, scram. You don't have the right to stay here. Chao Hualian, who came to the ruler's mansion, said with disdain. In his opinion, the person ranked 3rd on the high god list was definitely not as strong as Yunzei and was no match for him. After all, when Yunzei saw him, he would unconsciously retreat. Who do you think you are? You look like a eunuch and you dare to be arrogant? It's not up to you to decide whether I have the right to stay or not. Night Sorrow looked around and saw that the people present were divided into several smaller groups. Chao Hualian, who was from the ruler's manor, had 3 slightly weaker high gods on his side. Although these high gods were nothing compared to Chao Hualian, who was a hidden genius of the ruler's mansion, they were stronger than Murong Tsai and could not be underestimated. Bastard. Even Yunzhe, who is ranked first on the high god list, does not dare to talk to me like this. You are courting death. Chao Hualian, who came from the ruler's mansion, had a cold killing intent between his eyebrows. He looked at Night Sorrow as if he was looking at a dead person. Everyone else present was also attracted by Night Sorrow. After they came in, they felt that their strength was about the same and that they were all safe. Moreover, no one could determine the location of the origin essence, so they got along quite well. We will know who is courting death after we fight. I also feel that there are too many people here. Not everyone is qualified to stay and search for the essence gold. Night Sorrow's entire body was filled with killing intent as he stared at Chao Hualian from the sovereign's manor. He immediately activated the 33 heavens. He used the third move of the Blue Phoenix soul-splitting roar, Broken Samsara. Although Chao Hualian, who was in the ruler's palace, wasn't seriously injured, the three helpers beside him all cried out in pain. After Night Sorrow's karmic energy had reached the high god level, his soul had grown significantly stronger as well. The power of his Azure Rock Soul Hunt roar had increased significantly. Bastard. You're courting death. How dare you launch a sneak attack? I will kill you immediately. When Chao Hualian saw that Night Sorrow's roar had injured 3 of his subordinates, he immediately flew into a rage. If you want to kill me, you won't be able to do it with your tongue alone. Show me what you've got. No matter who you are, you don't have the right to show off in front of me. Night Sorrow coldly replied to Chao Hualian. He then swept his gaze over the others and said, if anyone else thinks that I, Night Sorrow, don't have the right to stay here, you can come out and fight. We're all here to search for opportunities, not to be looked down upon by anyone. As Night Sorrow swept his gaze over the crowd, he discovered that quite a few hostile gazes had been directed at him. Most of them withdrew their gazes. Now that Night Sorrow and Chao Hualian were preparing to fight, even if the others were confident in their own strength, they weren't willing to join in and expose their strength. Good. Very good. Very good. Very good. Night Sorrow, you'll regret your words in a moment. Chao Hualian coldly said. He then used a secret technique that increased his strength by 7 or 8 times. Then, he used a cold scythe in his hand and used an ultimate technique, slashing it at Night Sorrow's neck in an attempt to take his head. This was one of his strongest ultimate techniques, the cold scythe. Chao Hualian had used this move to take the lives of countless opponents of the same level. Now that he used this move, he had an obvious arrogance on his face. He felt that he would definitely kill Night Sorrow in an instant. According to his judgment, his strength was far above Yunzhe's, who was first on the upper god list. It would be a piece of cake for him to deal with the third on the upper god list. Weak. You don't have the right to be arrogant with your strength. Facing Chao Hualian's ultimate technique, Night Sorrow didn't feel that his life was in danger. His attack was stronger than Xianyuan Yufeng's, but it was actually on par with Luo Changtian's attack from Luo Changtian's residence. This kind of strength wouldn't have been much of a threat to the Yi Shang of the past, let alone the Yi Shang who now had even more trump cards. Hand of Heaven and Earth splitting. The heavenly Samsara halberd was only one step away from the Divine King's lightning tribulation to become a king-grade divine artifact. If it was used in front of everyone, it would obviously be a threat to some people. It wouldn't be good if it attracted a group of people to attack it. Night Sorrow directly used the Hand of Heaven and Earth splitting to grab Chao Hualian's cold scythe. Ignorant child, using your hand to grab my attack. You're really courting death. Seeing that Night Sorrow didn't use his divine artifact, but chose to use his hand to use an ultimate technique to grab the terrifying cold scythe, Chao Hualian's face revealed a cruel smile. Very strong. This Night Sorrow has the ability to defeat Yunzhe. At this moment, a young man in green who was watching suddenly saw Night Sorrow use the Hand of Heaven and Earth splitting. His eyes immediately lit up and his fighting spirit rose. He was Zhenyi Dian from the Tianyi family. He was an expert that no one dared to offend. After all, the Tianyi family's name shook the entire realm of the gods. He was recognized as the #1 person in the realm of the gods. Zhenyi Dian was the #1 high god that the Tianyi family had worked hard to create. In the hearts of everyone, he was the most advantageous contender for the title of #1 high god in the divine realm. Moreover, Zhenyi Dian was indeed bellicose. He had already defeated several experts from the Tianyi family. If there weren't any hidden high god experts in the divine realm, then he should already be invincible in the high god realm. Zhenyi Dian, don't judge others and always drag me into it. Not far from Zhenyi Dian, a scholarly-looking Yunzhe, who was dressed in linen clothes, said with some displeasure. He was ranked first on the divine list. As a result, some high gods who had transcended the standard always used him to judge the strength of others. Moreover, none of these absolute experts were willing to truly challenge him and chase him down from the divine list. Some people displayed very strong strength that made Yunzhe feel ashamed of his inferiority. However, he didn't even have the chance to seek defeat. Moreover, his strength was inferior to others, so he didn't dare to provoke them too much. He was afraid that he would be instantly killed by some hot-tempered fellows. As a result, he had always been ranked first on the divine list. This was a position with infinite glory but also infinite awkwardness. Yunzhe, don't try to anger me. I won't defeat you and take first place on the divine list. Chapter 26:55. At that moment, Night Sorrow and Chao Hualian had already clashed. Night Sorrow, who had just used the Hand of Genesis, would not have his arm cut off or his head cut off as Chao Hualian had expected. On the contrary, his Hand of Genesis was extremely powerful. With one blow, he had deflected the ice scythe and sent a palm strike towards Chao Hualian's spirit ocean. Although he did not shatter Chao Hualian's spirit ocean in one blow, his spiritual soul trembled under the ferocious attack. The power of the Hand of Genesis was not to be underestimated. Night Sorrow, who was barehanded, had already gained the upper hand. Chao Hualian's expression turned ugly as he felt embarrassed. He could not accept being suppressed by someone who was ranked third on the divine ranking list. Endless Scythe Storm. The enraged Chao Hualian was like a wild beast that had gone berserk. In an instant, his body grew several times larger, and he had 3 heads and 6 arms. His 6 hands all held the same sickle, and he used his ultimate skill together. Looks like it's hard to block this move without using the Samsara Heavenly Halberd. Night Sorrow felt a lot of pressure when faced with Chao Hualian's Endless Scythe Storm. The power of this move was definitely much stronger than Shang Su Yuan and Luo Changtian. Although he did not want to expose the Samsara Heavenly Halberd so soon, Night Sorrow felt that other moves would not be able to block this attack. Hence, he took out the newly evolved Samsara Heavenly Halberd from his spatial device and attacked. Night Sorrow did not use any of his moves because he was confident in the Samsara Heavenly Halberd. He felt that there was no need to use the spear technique. Boom! 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 With the help of the Eye of the Sea Serpent, Night Sorrow could see through the traces of Chao Hualian's moves and use the Samsara Heavenly Halberd to repel them. After 6 consecutive sounds, the scythes in Chao Hualian's 6 hands all shattered and disappeared into the void. Not a single trace was left behind. Not only had the Samsara Heavenly Halberd been upgraded to a king-grade artifact, but the tip of the spear had been strengthened by the Dominator Stone. Its toughness was almost unmatched except for Dominator-grade artifacts. Mine. Hexagonal Demon Scythe. The scythes in his 6 hands were all shattered by Night Sorrow. Chao Hualian let out an extremely unwilling roar. He had spent countless years to create these 6 scythes. This was the only way to connect them with the blood in his 6 palms. At this moment, you're about to lose your life. How can you still care about a few broken sickles? Night Sorrow said disdainfully after seeing Chao Hualian's reaction. From the beginning until the end, he didn't care about Chao Hualian's identity at all, and he completely ignored his origins. After using the Samsara halberd to shatter the six-sided demonic scythe, he used the Samsara halberd to strike again. Just like before, it was an ordinary attack, but its power was just as terrifying. Brother Knight Sorrow's strength has improved so much in such a short time. As expected of the person chosen by the ancestors. Jiao Kong, who was in the clear sky pagoda, praised Knight Sorrow from the bottom of his heart when he saw how ferocious he was. You don't know, but a few years ago, Knight Sorrow was only a feather god. He had participated in the 7-sect tournament of the Divine World's Yunxian continent. Murong-Sai explained and sighed, in my master's words, there may only be one Knight Sorrow in the Divine World, and he may create a magnificent feat that no one has ever done before. Then, do you have any feelings for Brother Knight Sorrow? After all, since ancient times, beauties have always loved heroes. Jiao Kong asked with a smile. The falling flowers have feelings for the heartless brook. However, you can't blame Knight Sorrow. He already has a few wives who are as beautiful as fairies. There is no room in his heart for anyone else. Murong-Sai sighed faintly. When Knight Sorrow was in the feather god realm, she already had feelings for him. Later, after the 7-sect tournament, she asked the people in the sect to investigate Knight Sorrow. In the end, she found that he already had a few wives, so she dispelled some of her thoughts. Actually, it doesn't matter how many wives Brother Knight Sorrow has. The important thing is whether there is fate between you two. Jiao Kong sighed and said, if there is fate between you two, no amount of people can stop it. If there is no fate, even if you two are together all the time, there won't be any progress. Perhaps it is like this. However, the current me is completely unable to keep up with the progress of his strength. I don't have the qualifications to be entangled in this matter. Murong-Sai looked at Knight Sorrow, who was still suppressing Chao Hualian, and said faintly. Knight Sorrow's strength was progressing too fast. It was so fast that people couldn't understand it, which made her feel inferior. I don't know who you are, and I'm not interested in your identity. However, since you have provoked me, you should be prepared to be punished. Knight Sorrow, who had completely suppressed Chao Hualian with the Samsara Heavenly Halberd, had basically controlled the situation. When he was suppressing his opponent, he had already planned to defeat him and imprison him in a spatial artifact like Luo Changtian. It was best not to kill some of the people from the dominating clans. Otherwise, it might bring a big trouble to the sect. What I mean is, do you have the qualifications to stand here? Now that you have the qualifications, how about we stop here? When he said this sentence, he had completely admitted defeat. Chao Hualian felt a burning pain on his cheeks. However, he knew that Knight Sorrow, who had suppressed him without even using the spear, was not someone he could defeat. Unless he used the extremely taboo move. There was an extraterrestrial demon, which was infinitely close to the Divine King, hidden in his body. If he was fighting with Knight Sorrow alone, he would have summoned it long ago. However, at this time, in front of so many geniuses in the God world, he naturally wouldn't do so. You are the one who provoked me. You are the one who attacked first. Now you want to stop. Simple. Surrender, give up resistance, and let me imprison you in my spatial artifact. Knight Sorrow, who had activated the Eye of the Sea Serpent, noticed that there was a faintly discernible black aura on Chao Hualian's body during the battle. This dark aura clearly belonged to an extraterrestrial demon. This made him completely wary of Chao Hualian, and he didn't want to let him go at all. Knight Sorrow, you are not from the dominating clans, and you are not from an ancient race in the God world. You have no right to be arrogant with me. Let me give you a piece of advice, don't make a mistake. Otherwise, I will use my trump card to kill you. Chao Hualian was very unhappy that Knight Sorrow continued to suppress him, and he had already started to threaten him verbally. However, as a god-level genius who had been specially nurtured by the dominating clans, Chao Hualian did indeed have many trump cards. He had more than a dozen king-level talismans, not to mention the extraterrestrial demon hidden in his body. What abilities do you have? Show them all. I, Night Sorrow, am not afraid of extraterrestrial demons at all. Night Sorrow had spoken about extraterrestrial demons, so he definitely wouldn't let Chow Hualien off. What? Extraterrestrial demons? What are you talking about? Chow Hualien coldly reprimanded him, then continued, I, Chow Hualien, have always been upright. How can you slander me like this? Die. Chapter 2656. Chow Hualien, what are you doing? Are you trying to put everyone in danger by using a king-level talisman in such a small space? Seeing Chow Hualien use the king-level talisman, Qing Xiao of the Dark Moon Dominator Mansion immediately reprimanded him. Jin Yedian of the Tianai Dominator Mansion also had a cold gaze. After all, the other party using a king-level talisman in such a small area was a threat to everyone present. He coldly berated, Chow Hualien, if you don't want to die, put away your talisman. Actually, it wasn't just Jin Yedian and Qing Xiao who were unhappy. Yunzhe and some other high gods from ancient families were also on guard. Because in such an environment, if Chow Hualien suddenly threw the king-level talisman at them, it would be completely destructive. The king-level talisman has been activated. There is absolutely no possibility of taking it back. Being reprimanded by the two experts, Chow Hualien's expression turned ugly. He explained, don't worry, I will only use this king-level talisman to deal with Night Sorrow. You can't wait to silence him after the secret in your body was revealed. Facing Chow Hualien, who had activated the king-level talisman, Night Sorrow had a cold smile on his face. He had the power of merit and had already started using the sea serpent's eye. He could even sense the aura of an extraterrestrial demon on a cultivator's body. I won't go so far as to silence you. But killing you is a must. Go to hell. Chow Hualien shouted crazily and threw out the fully activated king-level talisman. It's just a king-level talisman. It's not like I haven't faced one before. The expressions of everyone else changed, but Night Sorrow was very calm. He was even considering whether he should use the Samsara Heavenly Halberd to fight and test his true strength. However, after thinking about it, he felt that it was dangerous and high-profile to do so. It might be disadvantageous to the treasure hunt that was about to begin. He directly used the Merit Dragon Locking Array in Chow Hualien's direction. Now that Night Sorrow's power of merit had advanced to the level of a high god, and Chow Hualien had the dark aura of an extraterrestrial demon on his body, he was most afraid of the power of merit. After this move, Chow Hualien, who had just used the king-level talisman, was somewhat stunned. To his dismay, he found that Night Sorrow had sealed him and the exploding king-grade divine talisman in a sealed space. Time was of the essence, so there was no time to use an artifact to break the spirit array. Boom! This thought flashed through Chow Hualien's mind before the divine talisman in his hand exploded. Chow Hualien was not the first person to be bombarded by a king-grade divine talisman in a sealed space, but he was definitely the most miserable. Not only was he blasted into a bloody mess, even more than half of his divine sense had collapsed, and his dantian was severely damaged. No matter what, he would never be able to recover to his peak. The high god nurtured by the sovereign palace had been completely crippled. Extraterrestrial demon, are you still not coming out? After killing Chow Hualien completely, Night Sorrow brandished the heavenly Samsara halberd once again. He wanted to force the extraterrestrial demon out of Chow Hualien's body. However, even though Night Sorrow's Samsara halberd had completely pierced through Chow Hualien's dantian, the extraterrestrial demon still did not appear. If you don't appear, I will destroy his divine sense C. Let's see where you can hide then. The extraterrestrial demon did not appear at all. Night Sorrow shouted as he stabbed at Chow Hualien's divine sense C. This Yishang is strong, but why is he so paranoid? Chow Hualien's character is average, but he comes from a sovereign family. Why would he collude with the extraterrestrial demon? If a powerful existence like the sovereign palace colluded with the extraterrestrial demon, then the god realm would have been destroyed long ago. Bai Zhe, who was standing not far from Jin Yidian, asked in confusion when he saw Night Sorrow repeatedly mention the extraterrestrial demon. Wind from an empty cave may not be without cause. Night Sorrow has the power of merit. Perhaps he can see things that we can't sense. Jin Yedian's brows were slightly solemn. He felt a lot of pressure when it came to Night Sorrow. After a brief assessment, he felt that he did not have absolute confidence in winning. Night Sorrow's cultivation was still at the intermediate high deity level. Jin Yedian did not dare to think about the consequences if he advanced to the upper high deity level or half-step divine lord level. This was because if one thought about some things too clearly, it would bring about a devastating blow to one's confidence. If there really is an extraterrestrial demon hiding in Chao Hualian's body, then it's really a terrifying matter. Bai Zai's gaze locked onto Night Sorrow's face. He felt that there was not a trace of malice in his eyes. Ant-like thing. Since you have a death wish, then I shall grant you your wish. Just as the tip of Night Sorrow's samsara halberd was about to pierce Chao Hualian's divine sense C, an extremely evil voice immediately sounded from Chao Hualian's divine sense C. Then, an extraterrestrial demon that had concealed its true aura emerged from Chao Hualian's divine sense C and stood in front of Night Sorrow. Cultivators like us can only enter the ancient Golden Crow realm with the strength of a high deity. An evil spirit like you, who is already a half-step divine king, can still enter. This is really unexpected. This extraterrestrial demon had disguised himself as a human, and his aura had also been carefully concealed. Only Night Sorrow could use the sea serpent's eye and the power of merit to see through his true identity. How can an ant like you judge the methods of the ruler's mansion? The extraterrestrial demon, Black Edge, who had been questioned, roared and sent a palm strike toward Night Sorrow. In his opinion, although Night Sorrow's strength was not weak, he would definitely be killed by an attack that was infinitely close to the Divine King's. As long as he could kill Night Sorrow, he would definitely have the ability to shut the mouths of others and not be completely exposed. How dare an evil spirit like you call me an ant? I will expose you and Chao Hualian in front of everyone. I now suspect that the prestigious ruler's mansion is colluding with the extraterrestrial demon. Night Sorrow roared and used the forbidden reincarnation spear with his samsara halberd. This was the move he had originally wanted to use to block the attack of the king-level talisman. He had absolute confidence in facing a half-step divine king. Pfft. But Night Sorrow, who had used the forbidden reincarnation spear, found that he had missed. It felt as if he had hit cotton. There was no sense of bombardment at all. At the same time, Black Edge's attack successfully landed on Night Sorrow's body. This move felt like splashing ink. Even Night Sorrow had to admit that this move was very mysterious. But how could Night Sorrow, who had been hit by a palm strike, allow himself to be captured without putting up a fight? He immediately used his power of merit to block it. The power of merit was the nemesis of all evil spirits. It helped relieve a lot of Night Sorrow's pressure. Even so, he was still sent flying by the palm strike. As expected of the extraterrestrial demon that is about to become the Divine King. You do have some tricks up your sleeve. But there are only two outcomes waiting for you. Complete exposure and destruction, turning into power of merit. Chapter 2657. Night Sorrow, you slandered the ruler's residence for colluding with the extraterrestrial demon. Today, no one will be able to protect you. Go to hell. The well-disguised extraterrestrial demon, Hei Feng, roared and attacked Night Sorrow again. This move was similar to a splash ink landscape painting. It looked formless, but it was extremely powerful. The same move is useless. Night Sorrow, who was already prepared, used the sea serpent's eye to observe the loopholes in Hei Feng's attack. Then, he used the samsara halberd to attack with the raging flame subduing demon. The raging flame subduing demon was a large-scale attack. Although Hei Feng's movements were unpredictable, he was still covered by it. Damn it! What kind of flame is this? Hei Feng's cold voice sounded when he was burned by the flames of the samsara halberd. Phaseless reincarnation fist. Night Sorrow imitated a similar fist technique based on his opponent's move and named it the Phaseless Reincarnation Fist. This move was similar to He Feng's attack. It was to scatter oneself in the air like ink on a piece of paper. At the last moment, it would explode and deliver a fatal blow. This Night Sorrow really has some skills. He can actually comprehend his opponent's move in the middle of a battle. Jin Yedian of the Tianai ruler's residence immediately said softly when he saw Night Sorrow use the Phaseless Reincarnation Fist. How is this comprehension ability just having some skills? I think he's completely terrifying. No one is willing to face such an opponent. Yunzhe, who was ranked first on the upper god list, stared at Night Sorrow and revealed a helpless smile. Although he had never fought with Night Sorrow before, he judged that it was impossible for him to suppress his opponent with his own strength. Everyone else present also had surprised expressions. Yi Shang's performance had surprised them. He Feng, who was facing Night Sorrow, sneered. It has the form, but not the spirit. Your move is completely ineffective against me. As he roared, he struck out once more to counter the attack. Saying that my move is ineffective? This is the most ridiculous thing you've done today. Night Sorrow, who was hiding in the void, roared as he unleashed this move. Furthermore, he had added the power of virtue into the formless reincarnation fist. He did not believe that a fist technique made from the power of merit would be useless against an extraterrestrial demon. In the end, this attack did not explode with an earth-shattering sound. The world seemed to have come to a standstill. However, after the two of them fought together, the golden power of merit and the black power of the heavenly demon burst out immediately. Did you see that? He has the aura of darkness. He's an extraterrestrial demon. After Night Sorrow's power of virtue bombardment, a large portion of the dark aura on Black Peak's body had been exposed. He warned the others. However, after hearing Night Sorrow's reminder, everyone looked at each other, and no one spoke. All of them looked numb, as if they were looking at something that had nothing to do with them. How can you be so numb when you see an extraterrestrial devil? If the divine realm relies on so-called geniuses like you in the future, I'm afraid you'll be destroyed by the extraterrestrial devil. Seeing that the geniuses of the ruler's residence, including Jin Yidian, had no intention of attacking after discovering the extraterrestrial devil, Night Sorrow disdainfully said. He's your opponent. What does it have to do with us? After being questioned by Night Sorrow, Yunzhe, who was very jealous of his ability, coldly snorted. Very good. The extraterrestrial devil has nothing to do with you. Do you dare to say this in front of the ruler? Night Sorrow glanced at everyone and said disdainfully. Then, he continued to fight with Black Peak. Brother Jin Yidian, when we see the extraterrestrial devil appear, do we really not need to kill him? The god-level genius of the dragons, Long Xiangyu, immediately transmitted his voice to Jin Yidian when he saw the extraterrestrial devil appear. In his opinion, the ruler's residence was the strongest force in the divine realm. He should be the backbone when facing outsiders. Therefore, he transmitted his voice to him. He's Night Sorrow's opponent. What does it have to do with us? Compared to him, I would like to exchange pointers with Night Sorrow. Jin Yidian replied to Long Xiangyu. In fact, he felt that Black Peak's strength was ridiculously strong. He didn't dare to attack because he was afraid that he would die here. The other high gods felt the same. They felt that Black Peak's strength was very close to the Divine King's. They were a little afraid. In their hearts, they felt that it was good that Black Peak didn't attack. How would they dare to participate in the battle? Hearing this, Long Xiangyu's face turned ugly. He didn't know what to say. He transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, don't worry. Not everyone in the divine realm is apathetic. I, Long Xiangyu, will help you. Long Xiangyu? You're from the dragons? Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Long Xiangyu and asked. Yes. I'm from the dragon's empty faction. I'll help you now. Long Xiangyu said and released his divine realm, preparing to participate in the battle. Don't be in a hurry to attack. I still have the ability to fight against this evil spirit. Night Sorrow replied and asked, I want to ask you a question. Senior Long Tianqing, is she from the dragons? Long Tianqing? Hearing this name, Long Xiangyu asked doubtfully, Tianqing, the Divine King, is my grandaunt. She is from the dragons. Night Sorrow, be careful. Long Xiangyu originally wanted to explain Long Tianqing's identity to Night Sorrow. But at this moment, he saw the extraterritorial demon Black Peak launching a sneak attack. Therefore, he changed his tone and reminded him. It's fine. I'll wait for him. Night Sorrow replied. Obviously, the pressure wasn't as great as he expected. Facing Black Peak's sneak attack, he easily used the virtuous dragon lock formation to bind him temporarily. Black Peak had the ability to tear apart the virtuous dragon lock formation. Therefore, the moment Night Sorrow used the formation, he used the Samsara halberd to use the forbidden Samsara spear. This move was comprehended by Night Sorrow based on the unstoppable thunderbolt, the forbidden spear, and the Samsara spear. Although it was mainly of the Samsara attribute, it also contained the thunder attribute. In addition, Night Sorrow specially added the power of virtue. It was very effective against evil creatures. Night Sorrow, you deserve to die. I'll torture you to death. After being hit by this move, Black Peak immediately let out an evil growl. Black Peak used some kind of secret technique as he growled. The aura around him instantly became several times stronger. At this moment, his dark aura burst out without any concealment. Everyone. This extraterritorial demon has already exposed himself. Are you going to continue watching apathetically? Feeling the evil aura of the extraterritorial demon Black Peak, Long Xiangyu immediately questioned loudly. However, seeing how powerful Black Peak had become and how close he was to the Divine King, Long Xiangyu felt that it was too late. Let's go. There's no suspense in the battle here anymore. Everyone, don't get implicated. Everyone, including Tianai and Zhenye Dian from the ruler's manor, led the others and fled into the depths of the main hall. Chapter 2658. Look at how high-spirited the sovereigns are. How did they nurture trash like you? Long Xiangyu cursed in disdain when he saw all these people flee. Then he shouted, Brother Yishang. Among the current exalted gods, only you have invincible spirit. I, Long Xiangyu, admire you. Ha ha ha. Brother Long, aren't you the same? Night Sorrow laughed when he saw that there was still one person who hadn't been scared away by Black Peak. To be honest, he was extremely disappointed when he saw Zhenye Dian and the rest flee. In his opinion, the geniuses of the sovereign manor should be the strongest in the heavenly realm. They didn't even have the courage to attack the extraterrestrial demon. This was despicable and an insult to the sovereigns. Hee hee. Looks like you only have one useless helper. Black Peak laughed evilly when he saw Zhenye Dian and the rest flee. He was very proud of himself for scaring off so many geniuses. I, Night Sorrow, alone is enough to deal with you. I don't need any helpers. Do you think you can do whatever you want just because you're close to the Divine King? You're not the real Divine King, are you? Night Sorrow roared and used the virtuous dragon-locking formation on Black Peak again. This move of yours is completely useless against the current me. Black Peak, who was growing stronger and was about to reach the level of the Divine King, didn't care about the virtuous dragon-locking formation at all. With his current strength, breaking the formation was no problem at all. Boom! However, just as Black Peak was about to break the formation with his strength, a huge explosion came from the virtuous dragon-locking formation. Night Sorrow activated a king-grade talisman under the cover of the virtuous dragon-locking formation's aura. The explosion of the king-grade talisman immediately dealt a heavy blow to Black Peak. You extraterrestrial demons are nothing compared to the methods of the heavenly realm cultivators. So what if you're close to the Divine King? Aren't you still suppressed by me, a exalted god? Black Peak was at his strongest, and he could even scare off geniuses like Shen Yidian. This caused his confidence to soar. Knight Sorrow had chosen to activate the King Grade God Talisman at this moment. The timing was very good. After severely injuring Qi, Knight Sorrow said in disdain. Then, he used the heavenly Samsara halberd to launch the forbidden reincarnation spear. Previously, when Black Peak was not seriously injured, he was very wary of the forbidden reincarnation spear, let alone now. Its choice was to flee as soon as possible. It turned into a black mist that filled the sky and was about to dissipate into the void. This move was very similar to the attack it had used in the beginning. Knight Sorrow had already dabbled in this. Using the sea serpent dragon's eye and the power of merit, Xiaochun immediately determined the approximate location and executed the third move of the Azure Rock soul-rending roar, Broken Cycle. This kind of attack was filled with confidence. In fact, it was what evil creatures feared the most. After being roared at by Knight Sorrow, Black Peak immediately fell out of the void. Long Xiangyu, come and help us. If you have any tricks, use them on it. Black Peak's figure fell out of the void. Knight Sorrow felt that it was no longer a big threat and immediately transmitted a message to Long Xiangyu. Then, he summoned Murong Sai from the spatial artifact and said, take advantage of its weakness and kill it. Let's attack with all our strength and not give it the slightest chance to breathe. All right. I will use my strongest skill. Murong Sai, who came out of the clear sky pagoda, launched an attack full of battle intent. When Long Xiangyu and Murong Sai attacked Black Peak, Knight Sorrow quickly swallowed a few vitality recovery elixirs. The attack he executed just now was too fierce, and he was already somewhat exhausted. Phew. I have recovered. Thank you both for restraining it. Knight Sorrow, who had recovered more than half, used the heavenly Samsara halberd to execute the spear art and attacked Black Peak. At this moment, Black Peak was injured by the explosion of the King Grade God Talisman and the Azure Rock soul-rending roar. It was already an arrow at the end of its flight. It did not resist for long and was completely killed by Knight Sorrow. After Black Peak was killed, it immediately turned into power of virtue and rushed into Knight Sorrow's body. Perhaps because he had just absorbed the power of virtue of a real divine king, Knight Sorrow felt that the power of virtue that Black Peak turned into was not particularly strong. It only helped him consolidate his strength as a high god. Brother Yishang, your skills are really amazing. Although you have the help of a king-level divine talisman, to be able to kill an invincible monarch god-level extraterrestrial demon with the cultivation of a middle-level high deity is really peerless. After Black Peak was completely killed, Long Xiangyu immediately praised with a smile. The main reason is that the King Grade Divine King played a big role. It almost directly exploded to death. Knight Sorrow humbly expressed and said, now, you can continue to talk about Senior Tianqing. Grand Aunt Tianqing is the granddaughter of the dragon ancestor. The power of her bloodline is very strong. The outside world thinks that she is ranked on the divine monarch list and that her cultivation is a divine monarch. In reality, she has already become a divine king. It's just that after becoming a divine king, she has not fought even once. Long Xiangyu's eyes revealed a trace of admiration when he talked about Long Tianqing. So Senior Tianqing is really the divine king. No wonder her methods are heaven-defying and can easily heal the injury to the Dantian. Hearing Long Xiangyu's words, Yishang sighed and nodded. Thinking about how Long Tianqing wanted him to fight Ling Yun, Knight Sorrow felt that it was best for him to continue to become stronger. Therefore, he looked at Long Xiangyu and asked, Brother Long, you arrived here before the two of us. Can you tell us about the situation in this hall? The aura of the origin essence is so strong. What is going on? Actually, I have not been here for long. From what they said, it seems that the origin essence might be in the depths of the hall. However, it should not be that easy to obtain because it contains great danger. Otherwise, they would not be discussing things here. They would have attacked long ago. Long Xiangyu began to narrate. Then, he asked, Brother Knight Sorrow, the people of the ruler's manor have otherworldly demons on them. Do you think that the ruler and the otherworldly demons are related? Brother Long, don't casually talk about the ruler. When he heard Long Xiangyu's words, Yi Shang spoke to stop him. There was no concrete evidence that the ruler was related to this matter. He felt that they should not casually talk about it. All right. I won't talk nonsense. The dignity of the ruler should not be offended. After all, they are the strongest existences in the divine realm. Long Xiangyu sighed. He felt that he was in danger. He had almost caused a disaster. The strongest existences in the divine realm are definitely not them. Knight Sorrow did not agree with Long Xiangyu's words. After saying that, he said, Brother Long, I will summon a member of the Horn race to help find treasures. I hope that you can keep this matter a secret. Is that all right? Yes, of course. Long Xiangyu, who had been thinking about the previous sentence, was immediately attracted by the words, Horn race. Knight Sorrow, who had summoned Cao Ling, looked at her and said, Ling, can you feel anything? I can feel that the aura of the origin essence is fake. However, there is another great opportunity here. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.